Old school music's back.
Yep.
Just heard it there and there. Welcome everyone to Mangafandanga'S movie villains night. Well, just thought we'd get a good panel of guests just to all talk about all things villains and everything that we love about them in movies. Because I always think for the golden generation we lived in, we've had a load of great heroes, but they've also had some fantastic villains as well to go with them. So I thought, great to get a panel of my good pals on. We'll just sit here and talk about them. So I've got 10 questions here, and it's just a case of going around the board. And if anybody else has got any questions to say, just say them. But my first question, and I'll ask the question myself first, and I'll go through is, as a kid, what villain frightened you more than anybody? Now, for me, it was 3. It was the nuns in the Black Narcissus that frightened me to death. It was Jaws. And it was the Bride of Frankenstein. Them 3 scenes as a kid frightened me that much, they stuck with me. So I'll ask Andy first. What villain as a kid frightened you to death?
So there, among the first movies I ever remember watching were the old classic Disney cartoons, right? The cartoon movies like Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs and like, Fantasia and all of those like old classics. And I'll answer this 2 ways. The Wicked Queen, any of the Wicked Queen kind of motif, like from Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, she was vile. She was evil. Like you could tell she was just like, and then she'd transform into that old lady and you're just like, and I remember like feeling uncomfortable. And that was true with the Sleeping Beauty, was it, who later became Maleficent, or maybe that was the whole time, but like she gave me a real uneasy feeling as a little kid. But even as like I got into my teens and like I've never been really much of a horror show kind of guy, but the girl from The Exorcist and the Candyman, like those 2, I still will not watch those movies because I cannot watch those movies.
Yeah, it's funny how they stick me in it. What about you, Shabby? What was yours?
It's pretty straightforward. The Headless Queen from Return to Oz. That scared if you actually watch Return to Oz.
I've not seen it in years.
Oh, my life. Right. The thing about it is, considering it's a Disney movie and it's after The Wizard of Oz, it's the most darkest movie you've ever seen in your life. And as kids, it was pretty frightening. So Dorothy's walking through the corridor in this palace and it's got loads of heads in it that are all asleep. Rows and rows and rows. And they're all real life heads. So obviously they've got people in there that are sat there. But it was made in 1986. And there's a part where she has to get the key from her and she's in bed with no head on, right? And Dorothy gets up and she gets the key and wakes her up. And she shouts, "Dorothy, Gale," and all the way through the hallways. And she's running after Dorothy with no head. Oh, I was only 11. I thought, what the Francis scared the absolute shite out of me. Do you know what I mean? So, yeah, I was proper scared. So I agree with Jaws and I agree with Wicked Witch is another. But for some reason, that's one that's always stuck with me. And it's funny as well. As you get older and you turn around and you say, I'm not really that scared anymore. You'll watch like a horror now or whatever. That still does it. I'm not as scared. I'm not behind the couch in my house in my 40s, but it still gives me that. Oh, do you know what I mean? I think it takes me straight back. So that's one for me.
And which one was yours, Stu? Which one frightened you as a kid?
I don't know if you guys remember the film Never-Ending Story.
Yeah.
The wolf thing in that. Because you didn't see it to start with, you just saw it like in the cave and something like that. Then you saw it running, and then you could just see the face. And I remember thinking, "Oh shit, yeah, I'm not too keen on this. I don't like this." So that, I mean, then I think the reason for it being so scary is because you don't fully see it properly, and I think that adds to the suspense of not seeing it. It's pretty much like you say, like Jaws, and another one that got me was the Alien in Alien, the original movie. I mean, wow, that was pretty cool. So yeah.
Zoe says the child snatcher from Chitty Chitty Bang Bang.
Chitty Catcher,
yeah.
It's a piece of work, mate.
Yeah, that
what about you, Marty? Which one was yours? Mummy, I can't go to sleep. Mummy, I can't go to sleep. Which one was it?
Well, I'm sure a lot of you had the same experience in the 80s when you were a kid, that there wasn't quite the management of what you watched quite as much as there is now.
Yeah.
And, there was a select shelf of movies that was in the cabinet that I was always told you're not allowed to watch those. And of course, what did I do as soon as
Who told you that, your dad?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, we both know what we were talking about.
Brilliant.
But yeah, there was this one. First of all, Freddy Krueger absolutely scared the crap out of me when I was a kid. Really took a lot for me to try and get through an entire film with Freddy in. But the one I'm going to choose, and it's quite an obscure film, and I hope some of you might have heard of it, but there was a film called The Sword and the Sorcerer.
Yes.
Yeah. And there was this sorcerer, and I've had to Google his name because I couldn't remember it. It's Zusha of Delos, and basically he was this sorcerer that came out of a blood crypt at the beginning of the film, and he rises up and he's completely covered in blood, and it's just dripping off of him. And it happens in the first few minutes of the film, and I never got past those first few minutes of the film, and I tried so many times, and even now it's one of those memories that I still hold as an adult. I've watched it all now, obviously, but bit of a cheesy movie, but yeah, he's a scary villain.
Yep.
It's what French, isn't it? Like you, Dave. What was yours?
Well, it weren't really a villain, but like Martyn, parenting didn't exist in my house, so we were just watching what we could find, and we found a copy of Shining.
Do you know I've never seen The Shining?
Yeah.
Never seen it.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, we can hear you, Dave.
Yeah.
And yeah, there's a scene in it where you see the Grady twins and the lift and all the blood's gushing out the lift. It's just as a kid, and you see that, and you see these creepy little twins trying to get you to come and play with them. That freaks me out.
Oh, yeah, I hate creepy twins.
Yeah, there's a couple of bits in that. There's a couple of bits in that. There's a bit where there's a wrinkly old woman coming out of a bath.
Oh, that's awful.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. So I think as a kid, when we weren't supposed to watch it, it did scare you.
Yeah, I was quite shocked with what Martyn said, because I would have thought Martyn would have said the Snooker World Championships, because you were in there 6 times and never won it. You know what I mean?
I was too old for that, Shabby.
Exactly. Oh, brilliant.
What about yours, Mark? What was yours?
There's 2 memories actually. I'm showing my age for one of them. I don't know why I watched it, but it was the 1976 production of Tommy, the one with Roger Daltrey in it. And I don't know why I was watching it, but then I was only 6 or 7 years old. And there's a scene where it gave me a nightmare for about 3-4 years. And the thing I got around to get through the nightmare was it happened 10 o'clock every night. Was at 10 o'clock every night. I know it's just me being a kid, not now. I had to talk through the moment so I didn't hear the bells ringing of 10 o'clock, because that always gave me a nightmare of Tommy. So that was I don't know, that could be more deep than the nightmare. But my second villain or memory was, remember Raiders of the Lost Ark? Really good film, 1981. Was the melting skin?
Oh,
right at the end.
Yeah.
And this is a PG film as well. And I was going, what the? Even now it gives me heebie-jeebies watching it, I have to admit. But villain-wise, it would be the one I'll be mentioning later. Probably will be my main villain, because I grew up with a certain Dark Lord of the Sith. So, and I was pretty damn scared of him when I first saw him, but then I grew to love him. So, if you can love a person like that, so yeah, there you go.
I was scared of Freddy as well. Freddy's crew. I think a few of us, but I was the same way. I wasn't a big fan of him at all. So
I'll explain this later on, because there's actually a question connected to this. But when it came to like sort of slashes, I never was. I used to see him like I did like Iron Man or Spider-Man or Batman. There's Jason, there's Freddy. It's like that's how I used to see him. I never really got frightened by him. Certain scenes, I suppose, did. What was yours, Andy?
I've never seen a nightmare film, by the way. Nightmare on Elm Street. I don't like those type of films.
I think I've watched the first one. That's it.
No, I've never seen any of them, because I just don't like them.
Mine was it's the same as you, so it was Jaws, and I watched Jaws far too young, and that gave me Yeah, and it was just the opening scene. It was just sort of like the girl screaming, and even though the shark isn't kind of like a villain per se, it's like a force of nature. You can't reason with it, you can't argue, and it scared me so much. I remember as a small child, I wouldn't sleep with my legs stretched out in bed because I was scared Jaws was going to bite my legs off.
Yeah. I think after seeing me and Mark, my mum went to see Jaws with my dad, and it terrified my mum. It really did. And I think my mum, when she got like passionate about something, she always wanted her boys to see it. So I think we were like 7 or something watching Jaws, like, what the hell? This guy's getting eaten and everything. And right, me to death. What was yours, Luke, growing up?
Well, yeah, like a few of the lads, there was 2 when I was growing up. One's maybe a little bit of a cheap. I'll explain that in a second. So we had a local video shop, a bit like someone's just said it, where we could go and they would just basically rent us out anything. The sort of knew the owner of the store. We could just go and they just let us rent out whatever video we wanted. So we'd get Terminator when we were like 9 years old or whatever. And so Freddy Krueger was. I'm not a horror film fan, a bit like Shabby. Freddy Krueger was always someone that stepped out or sort of stood out in my mind, but he wasn't the one that scared me the most. He was quite vocal and sometimes came across a little bit comedic. But I had this idea in my mind when I was young that if I ever watched a horror film and there was a daylight scene, I'd go, "Oh, right, I'm safe while it's daylight," because nothing happens in daylight. Nobody will scare you. No one jumps out in daylight. And then I watched Halloween, and all of a sudden, this silent character that was killing people with this mask, this white, just plain white, sort of motionless, expressionless face, said nothing and just appeared in broad daylight. Just walked down the street in broad, and that to me was just, you were like, oh my God! So you're not even safe in the daytime. They'll just come and peg you whenever you're at. And the fact that people run away from him and he'd catch him by walking. Can't even get away from him. He's just walking. He'd still catch it. So Michael Myers used to freak me out as a kid. I love him now kind of as a character. I think he's a brilliant character. But as a kid, it was just that he says nothing. You can't see his face. Broad daylight don't bother him. He's quite happy. So that used to freak me out a bit. But the main one, and it's not really a movie, it's more of a TV series, Jerry Anderson's Terrorhawks, Zelda.
Yeah.
She was horrible. They had this spiky hair everywhere, the wrinkled face and the laugh, and I hated Zelda.
Even Biker says it. Yeah,
struggled to watch it when she came on. Just awful. I used to just go to bed. Zelda. Oh, awful. So I would go Zelda for me, even though she's not a movie villain, but yeah.
Georgie says she was being a baby at the age of 8 and chose American Werewolf in London. Ooh. She didn't sleep for weeks.
Good shout.
Yeah.
I've never seen The Shining. I've never seen it. Never seen The Shining. No.
Speaking of Halloween, did anyone get freaked out with the 3rd Halloween movie where they all had to wear the masks and when the music came on? Have anyone seen the 3rd Halloween?
Not seen the first one.
Oh, really?
Long time ago.
That freaked me out as a kid. That movie absolutely freaked me out.
Yeah. Danny Glick from Salem's lot frightened the bejesus out of me as a kid, says Miriam.
There's a lot of horror films I haven't seen, but yeah.
Well, the next question for you all, and I'll start with you, Luke, this time, and I'll go reverse way back, is who would you consider to be the most scariest female villain of all time?
Right.
Now, for me, again, it goes to The Bride. The Bride just frightened me. The image stuck with me to this day. That's my number one. It's frightened me to death.
I'm so happy you've asked me that question, Si, because I've made a little short list. I know it's not list format, but I've just for my own reference.
Everyone's making sure, Si, they're not telling you it's a list.
And I've got a little bit of a wild card thrown in there. And it's a female, which is why I'm happy. So I had this discussion with my brother yesterday, and he was like, right. I explained it to him. I told him who it was going to be, and he was like, I told him the live stream, and he's like, what? You're gonna say that character as a villain? I was like, and I explained it to him, and he just went, that's brilliant. Right, so my worst female villain is Jenny from Forrest Gump. Right? And I'll tell you why.
Oh, brilliant.
Now, Forrest loves Jenny more than anything on this planet. He loves her more than life itself, and he wants to be with her through that whole movie. And all she does is up and leave him through the whole movie. leaves him for blokes that knock her about, leaves him for blokes that abuse her. She just dumps him whenever she gets the chance. But the second he's a shrimp millionaire and she's a single mum with AIDS, she comes back and marries him. Right?
Women.
Now you tell me what's more villainous than that. That's right up there with poisoning Gotham's water supply. Right? That's the most villainous thing on this planet. So my worst villain for females is Jenny from Forrest Gump. Absolutely.
She was a bit horrible to him, wasn't she? She was a bit horrible to him.
Absolutely shocking.
Luke, it's funny that you say that because I didn't think I was going to be able to make the stream today, but I told Shabby that the most vile villain in all of cinema is Jenny from
He sure did. How weird is that? That's too
and it's not. It's because she uses him so badly throughout the movie and
100%.
takes advantage of his simple love for her.
Yeah,
which is it's the most heartbreaking thing, and she probably gave him AIDS too. You know what I mean? Like it's
it's took a turn, this, hasn't it?
Like
This escalated quickly.
This is a visceral, kiss me off character that actually, like to me, the best villains are the ones that you're supposed to hate because they're played so well. I think Robin Wright played her perfectly because everybody hates her. Like it's everybody.
The amount of times I say that to people, and they go, "What?" and then I explain it, and they go, "What bitch?"
She's also good in the House of Cards as the the president and the first lady. She's a real villain in that too. And you're right, Robin. I never thought about that. Robin Wright.
I've never, but you're dead right. What a bitch she is. Yeah, I agree. What about you, Andy?
Well, it's difficult to follow up from Jenny from Forrest Gump.
It's difficult to follow up from HIV.
What do you know? Well, that Minnie Mouse is a bit of a bitch.
I'm going to go with the Alien Queen.
Oh,
so female character. Thinking on the spot is sort of like actually that. I mean, that was a really sort of like terrifying sort of like villain on screen. Once again, I'm having like a force of nature with my villains. It's sort of like creatures or sort of like animals, but yeah, the end of Aliens when she's first introduced, it's sort of like that. I mean, she's made a lasting impression, sort of like not just on me, but I think in the whole franchise, really.
Yeah, I say so. Yeah. When was the first Alien made? Was it 75? Was it 79?
Yeah.
Someone said that's what I mean. It's coming up 50 years of franchise, isn't it? Really?
Yeah.
Some of the chat are saying Kat says Valek or Valek from the Conjuring universe. Des T says Glenn Close in Fatal Attraction.
Good shout.
Retro says Nancy Pullman. Chivo says Jed is Shabby scariest female.
I agree with that. She's mine.
I could have gone with Cyril's mum from Andor, but
well, that's funny that because my female villain is Deidre. She's like the female. One of my favorite characters has always been Tarkin, and when you saw her, I think she's right up there with the villains of Star Wars. I mean, the way she portrayed it, and she was all about the Empire, and even at the end when about the massacre, she was having a bit of one, but she still went along with it. Do you see what I mean? I thought she's a really good villain. So
she's such a good character, though. I felt really sorry for her in the end.
What? Yeah, I did. I felt sorry.
No, I want to see more of her.
And I was like, no, not in here. You don't want to be in here.
I want to see more of her. I want her to have her own spin-off series now. In charge of a stormtrooper troop company or TIE fighters or something, because she'd be really good.
Well, they're going to be doing this Star Wars version of Prison Cell Block H, so she's going to be in that.
That'd be good though. I'd watch that.
I would.
You can't swim though.
In the Empire.
Cruella's one, yeah. I agree with that.
So who was yours, Mark? Then was it?
I need help. I thought of an obvious one, and I thought of a real good one, but I need help for the name because I completely forgotten her name. Blake Seven.
Oh, the girl with the dark hair.
Yeah.
God,
she's kind of like what Deidre is in Andor. She was ultimate power, but she does it in such a great way of doing it that she meant every time she spoke, you had to listen to her, and the command she was given to her, secondhand man who were always below her in the way she was dealing with them. So yeah, I've forgotten her. Yeah, her. I just got flashbacks of her when I watched the original series, and I thought, oh, she's good, and she's evil.
Yeah.
And then as soon as I saw Dedra and Andor, I thought that's what she'd be like now. Maybe something like that. If she was a part of the Empire, she'd be really good as an Imperial officer. But yeah, it'll be her from Blake 7. But I have got the obvious. My obvious one, until that one came on about 5 seconds ago, was Cruella de Vil.
That's what my mum said. My mum said
Yeah,
that. Really.
that would be the obvious one. But I thought,
So did Georgie.
I'm going to say someone else. Yeah.
I will tell you what's interesting is that a lot of your answers are coming up as forwarded questions. So you'll notice that the rest of the questions I've got actually do tie into what a lot of you are actually saying. So that's quite interesting how we've thought of villains and we've all sort of thought of the same sort of line. Like, do you know what I mean? There's not just like, well, basically, there's not one, is there? We've got such a rich history of them. We can choose like whoever when it comes to movie villains. What about you, Stu? Who's yours?
I can't remember the character's name, but it was Kathy Bates in that film, which I can't remember.
G-Force.
Misery.
Yeah.
Sorry,
the
guys,
moment
some
he had
camera
that guy
issues. Carry
tied
on.
to the bed,
I'll start
put
it.
that block between his legs, his ankles, and then whacked it with a mallet. I was thinking, you deserve a slap, love. That was made me proper cringe. I mean, who does that, for crying out loud? Do you know what I mean?
Crazy.
That is absolutely sickening. And just the way what she put that bloke through was just. And the thing is, as well, what's scary is there actually people out in the world that are like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Oh, excuse my friend.
I married I married the other one.
Well, what I loved about that film is it's a lot like Jaws, where it's tension building all the time. Like the bit where you just make sure he's not missed one thing, and then that little penguin falls over. And she walks in and she just notices it straight away about everything. Like that penguin's fell over. Psychopath, her, wasn't she? Frightened me to death. She was crazy. What about you, Martyn? What was yours?
Well, I've been having a think, and there's. First, I was thought, is it Diane from V?
Diana.
Yeah.
Then I thought possibly Dolores Umbridge from the Harry Potter movies.
Good call.
Oh, she's a piece of work.
Yeah.
She's right there with Jenny with me. I
Yeah.
hate her.
Yeah.
Is that Imelda Staunton's character?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. I totally agree.
But I think the most evil female villain I can think of is Cersei Lannister from Game of Thrones.
Look at you bringing the big guns out. Yeah, you exactly.
Yeah, I think that's without a doubt got to be like most manipulative, evil, female villain that I can think of off the top of my head. But she was great. I mean, she ate every scene up she was in, didn't she? She was absolutely fantastic.
Was that was Lena Headey, wasn't it?
Lena Headey,
it was.
Yeah.
Georgie's got one. And I agree with this. Stephen King's Christine. So it was a female villain, wasn't it, really? So, that's a good call.
I think also Lena Headey in Dread. That
super
Dread character. Yeah.
She was brilliant in that.
Great.
She's a great actress, her, isn't she? You'd think she'd be a lot more pushed in the limelight, wouldn't you, really?
I think
Like you, Dave, who was your favourite?
Oh, you're on mute.
You're mute, Dave.
Anyone that
Can't hear you.
Come back to me. Come back to me.
So who was yours then, Andy?
Well, as far as like scary goes, I kind of said it in the opener there. The Disney queens, like the evil, like even up to like Tangled, the evil mother, like the evil mother character, the evil queen, like they're the scariest female villains out there. And I don't know why Disney seems to nail it every time, but every time there's a female villain, they nail it. And maybe, even like in The Little Mermaid, the what's her face, the octopus, Ursula, and like they just get it right. They get that character right every time. Like, and as a kid, like I said, it really freaked me out. Like those characters, maybe it was the animation, the quality of the animation, because you could see like the expressions in their face when they were talking. I really get that vibe from the evil queen from Snow White. Like, she was really terrifying for me. So I'd put any like Disney evil queen up there as far as like chills my bones kind of thing, you know. Or would Natasha Henstridge from Species count? Does that count?
She was a piece, wasn't she?
Because that's like really scary, because you think she's like just awesome and beautiful, and then she tears you up, you know. That would be scary. That would be scary. All these guys thought they had a chance with a 10, only to find out
she's going to eat you.
She's going to eat it. Yeah. Praying mantis, you know.
Smithlaw says, has anyone mentioned the greatest villain of all time, Bennett from Commando? He's been going about Bennett from Commando.
Yeah, he's been banging that drum for 4 days now.
Des T said something in the chat. He said Glenn Close in Fatal Attraction. I couldn't agree with that because she was a imagine, I mean, we're all married blokes. Imagine having a fling with that. You'd wish you'd never been born. You know,
don't get a pet rabbit.
Exactly. DTM, are you back?
Can you hear me now? Yeah.
Yeah, perfect.
Yeah.
Go on, Dave.
Right. Well, I was going to say Kathy Bates, but that's already come up. So
oh, sorry.
Rebecca De Mornay from.
And the Rocky Cradle.
Oh, yeah. Oh, God, yeah.
That's a good one.
Yeah. Kid, you know.
Especially the scene where she's all wet in the rain. I remember that as a kid. I'll not forget that bit. In the hand that rocks the cradle, I will not forget that bit.
Yeah, that's a good one. That good one. That DTM.
When he's like, he says, worst female is Ray Skywalker. She massacred the whole. Darren says Wicked Witch of the West from Wizard of Oz. She was a that's pretty good.
Piece of work, that.
Mr. B says Kathy. Yeah, a few people are agreeing with the Kathy Bates one. Al Ghul was a backstabby twat, says she.
Yeah, in Batman,
yeah.
She was also the first skinhead chick on TV. Who was the first skinhead chick?
Who was?
Must be the Blake 7 one.
Yes,
Must be the Blake 7 one, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, there we go.
Before Star Trek.
Blake 7 came out just with the motion picture. So
can I just request, Shabby, that you skip Smithlaw's next comment, please?
I'll read it first. I'll definitely read it first. I've learned, you know, after all these years of doing these, you see Smithlaw and you read it for about. So if you ever see a stream when Shabby's on and I stop for 30 seconds while I'm reading something, you know. You know
the mom, the bad guy mom from Throw Mama from the Train and Goonies.
Yeah.
Always freaked me out. She always freaked me out, even when she wasn't.
Tongue. It says tongue. Do you like tongue?
I think her name was.
She's got a voice that looks like she's been smoking cigars.
To be honest with you, I always thought that was a man dressed as a woman.
Yeah, I did as a kid.
I thought that was a man dressed as a woman. But there you go.
I think her name was Anne Ramsey.
Anne Ramsey.
You know, Des has got something here because that happens in it. When there's a certain iconic scene and someone gets hurt, you feel it on you, don't you? Like, oh, my ankles. Do you know what I mean?
The thing is, it's just so graphic because you actually see the ankles go and you just think,
Well, I thought that when Marty said that then about thingy from Harry Potter, because when it gets scraped on his hand, I'm sat there going, dragging on it. You know, she puts the lines up in.
Yeah. I must not lie.
That went right through me, that. The next question to you all, I'll start with you this time, Shabs.
Okay.
Again, most questions are all seem to tie in, but who's your biggest Disney villain? Now, for me, my Disney biggest villain is Sark from Tron. Right piece of work, Sark. Tried to take over everything. So for me, it'll be Sark from Tron. So who was yours? Just from Disney. It's like Andy said before, and he hit the nail on the head. Disney just seemed to get it right every time.
Disney, that's hard that because there's so many. You could even put Vader as a Disney villain, you know, because
not necessarily.
No.
Where's the kick out? Where's the kick out?
Disney Vader.
and he just picked what you guys were talking about.
Jesus, Shabby, you trying to start a rumble?
I'm only messing. No, I would say my favorite Disney villain is probably Snoke.
Give everyone AIDS.
Kathleen Kennedy.
I like her from Snow White. What was she called? She was a bit of a nasty piece of work.
She was called Queen Grimhilda, wasn't she? Grimhilda.
Grimhilda,
I'm sure her name is the actual queen from Snow White.
The thing about it is, it's the same as Catra in the She-Ra Masters of the Universe. They're run and fueled through jealousy and envy, and she was. And sometimes we all have that thing where you're a bit envious of someone, a bit jealous. It turns you into someone different. And in Snow White, she was so jealous of Snow White, so envious of her. It fueled her, you know what I mean, to do basically whatever she could to get rid of her. So I kind of like villains like that, if you will. So
I think you, Andy, I think you'd sort of agree there, wouldn't you, really, with your previous answers? I think yours would be.
I have nothing to add to this question.
Yeah. About you, Stu?
I'm going to have to go Scar from The Lion King, voiced by Jeremy Irons. But he wanted. I mean, he killed his own brother, for goodness sake, just to want to be king and rule over Pride Rock. So I thought that was pretty atrocious. So yeah, he wouldn't stop at anything to get what he wanted, even if his own brother got in the way. It sort his brother out. So yeah, so it's got to be Scar. And I always think the British people make fantastic villains as well. It's stereotypical, but there you are.
Yeah, I agree there. Would the Empire be the Empire if it wasn't the British? Would it really be like?
No.
Unless you had the original Darth Vader accent, which is all Southwest Cornish.
It sounds like Matt. All right.
It would so. Yeah.
Darth Vader.
It'd be a bit different.
Imagine.
Pops Racing Pub says the biggest Disney villain is Kathleen Kennedy. Fulcrum Entertainment is Claude Rolo from Hunchback of Notre Dame. Wow, Fulcrum. Wow, okay.
I think I wish I could pick King John from a Jungle Book. Not Jungle Book, sorry, from Robin Hood. But I'm going to have to go with Shere Khan from Jungle Book.
Oh, again, good call. Good call.
But I also love Hiss as well. Is it Hiss in Jungle Book? In Jungle Book, it is the snake.
Yeah.
No, it's Car.
Scar.
No,
sorry,
Car.
it's Hiss from Robin Hood, isn't it? I think because it's kind of the same characters, but they're more comedic in Robin Hood. But yeah, I'd go Shere Khan would be my choice because that was probably the Disney film I watched the most as a kid. Is Jungle Book. Shere Khan. Yeah.
Horned King from the Black Cauldron. I've got Maximilian from the Black Hole was another awesome Disney villain. Dr. Hans Reinhardt in the Black Hole. Maleficent says Cat Knight. Favorite Disney villains are those witches from the Acolyte as voted by a lot of people saying the Lion King and Jungle Book as well. So yeah. That's some of the bitch that shot Bambi's mum. That was me.
Gaston was a prick too. You know,
Gaston, Scar, Queen Grimhilda.
Yeah, Grimhilda.
Oh, nice.
I was wrong.
Be a talking Scar. Scary.
About you, Dave, who's yours?
I don't watch a lot of Disney stuff, to be honest, but I watch a lot of the Pixar things and Stinky Pete from Toy Story.
Oh, yeah.
Great choice.
Yeah. So,
good one.
I'll probably do that one.
So considering this was a question on your favourite Disney, he was Stinky Feet in it. It's horrible. It was yours there, Mark.
Again, I don't watch much Disney either, but the two have already been mentioned. Scar from Lion King. Again, he killed his own brother, tricked his nephew into thinking he killed his dad. I got all this by watching the stage play of Lion King because I've never watched the film. So, but it's the same thing, isn't it? I hope. And Cruella de Vil. So they're the only two I can think of because, again, I don't watch that much Disney and I don't count Star Wars as Disney. Well.
No. Only Shabby does.
Yeah, they're the only two I can think of.
Back you, Andy.
I'm the same. I didn't watch many Disney films as a kid.
Oh, you're all so cool. You're such a cool kid.
I don't know if you remember, though, that it's like they never used to show Disney films on telly when we were kids. The only way you could get them is on video, and they'd only release them every so often.
Yeah.
So we didn't I didn't watch a lot of Disney films, so but the one I'm going to pick is the one they did used to show on TV because it's not a very popular one, and it's Black Hole, and that's Maximilian.
It's funny how that film's not that popular because I think it's a great
It's
film.
a brilliant film. I love the Black Hole. It's just old-fashioned fun, but it was just this red sort of villain, and it was the blades that sort of span on his hands, which, in hindsight, using a book as a shield's probably not the best idea. Nah, that was my one.
It was easily forgotten because when it came out in 79-80, also came out was Alien, Empire, Star Wars is still there, and all the great sci-fi films on TV. You had Galactica, you had Buck Rogers. So I can see why it was forgotten, but looking at it now, yeah, amazing film.
Des T says Sid from Toy Story. Well, those are big collectors. I would have agreed with that. And keep on collecting, say, all right, keep on collecting.
Matt.
Hello,
Matt.
He was just a custom toy maker. That's all.
Well, still toy maker. Yeah, he just does what Keith Knight does. Just mix it all up, puts them all together. Yeah.
Yeah, and just last one, yours, Luke. What was your biggest Disney villain?
Yeah, well, I mean, this was a character that I kind of loved to hate. I mean, it's a bit out of left field, but when I was growing up, we were quite big into sports, me and my brother. So we used to watch quite a lot of what you would call childhood sports movies. So one movie we used to watch quite a lot was Mighty Ducks. And I used to remember thinking that Coach Riley, Jack Riley, what an awful guy, like cutting Coach Bombay from the team when he was a kid because he missed his penalty shot, and I used to hate him. But yet there was part of me that went, that's mega ruthless, mate. Fed, good for you. That is just, I want to win, and this is what I feel I need to. You've missed the shot. It cost us the game. You're done out of the team. I used to kind of love yet hate that because there's nothing that upsets me more than like if I see an upset kid in the street, I'm almost like in tears myself because I hate it. So you see this little young Bombay skating off the ice. He's just missed the game-winning shot, and he's been cut from the team. And you're like, you absolute, But at the same time, I'm like, do what you got to do, Yeah. So Coach Jack Riley from the Mighty Ducks. I loved him yet hated him.
Yeah, you always have to be a monster or like a slasher to be a nasty bastard. There's so many films we've seen where you've gone there.
You imagine you're that kid, you've just missed the game-winning shot, and your team's lost, and then you get your jacket took off you at the end of the game by your coach and told you're done. What an asshole!
Yeah, I remember the Karate Kid. I never wanted Mr. Miyagi to smash Kyle Reese any more than any of that. Just smash him. Do you know what I mean? I hated that guy as a kid. He was so awful, wasn't he?
Bob says, how about the competitive cereal company trying to off Kurt Russell in The World's Strongest Man? That's a Disney film. What film's that?
What's that?
How about the competitive cereal company trying to off Kurt Russell in The World's Strongest Man? That's a Disney film.
I've not seen that film.
I feel I need to know what that is. Yeah.
Kurt Russell did a lot of Disney movies, though, didn't he? When he was younger.
He was in a lot, like Computer Wore Tennis Shoes and
Randall from
that's a lot. He was in one.
And after that, Luke Chiefo says, "Wouldn't know. Never missed a peek." Have you heard?
I've just done some research. It's the strongest man in the world, released in 1975. Which is the Kurt Russell film they're on about.
Right. Before my time. That's what it is. See, 75.
Not mine.
Damon from The Omen. That's
God, yeah. Good call. That. Wow.
Now, my next question to ask you is again pretty in the theme of what we've all much been saying, but there's a lot of villains that are aliens. My favourite, probably alien villain is, I was thinking, like we all do, the Xenomorph. Straight away, it's the Xenomorph. Well, then I thought, no, because I remember the aliens in War of the Worlds. They were just horrible, especially the Tom Cruise one as well, where they just take humans up and just splatter them for their energy. And so they were like really nasty. So for me, it's probably the War of the World are the most like villainous aliens. So I'll start with you, Luke. What's your most villainous alien?
God, I feel I need to think about this one. You've caught me off guard there. Most villainous alien. I don't know. I feel I need to think about it.
I bet you all wish we did the lists now, Stu?
Yeah.
Still got my list.
Would we class Terminator as an alien?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Probably the Terminator. Then, probably the Terminator. T1000, original Terminator.
It's from Earth.
Oh, that's T1000.
It's from Earth, but yeah, it's from the future.
Yeah,
that's it. It's fantasy. It's alien. Yeah, we'll have that. Yeah. Back you, Andy. What's yours?
Well, I was going to say Ming the Merciless because technically he's an alien.
Yeah, he is. Yeah.
But as Luke's been allowed a robot technically from Earth, am I allowed to say HAL 9000?
Yes, you are.
Yeah, that's alien.
I'd like to play chess, Dave.
Yeah.
Open the
What
door,
are you
Dave.
doing, Dave? It's so unnerving. But at the same time, you kind of feel sorry for him, and I actually there's a part of the villain that you have to feel as though you have to like you identify or a little bit. So he was just doing his programming, poor thing.
Daisy. If you remember that, if you remember the film, that always creeps me out. That
Brilliant.
What about yours, Mark? Who's your favourite alien?
There's two. G-Force has just said the one I thought, and then I'll add another one. The Stormtrooper bugs. God, they were vicious, especially in the first one, because they just ripped the humans to shreds, basically, literally. And I would add the polymorph from Red Dwarf.
Oh, yeah.
Because it changed every type of thing it could be possibly, including to Lister's trunks and everything, and his sausage and everything like that. I thought that would be a really bad creature to face up to, because you just don't know what it's going to change into.
Yeah, good one. Never thought of that.
Who's yours, Dave?
Am I allowed to say The Fly? Jeff Goldblum.
Yeah.
Awesome. Horrible sort of.
Yeah,
I can't think of that film, mate. That film is mean. My worst bit in that film, Dave, is his nails. Nails. And there's a door coming off. Yeah. That film is mean.
I did like that. I like the sequel as well. The sequel was bad. Fly 2, Eric Stoltz.
The Fly, yeah, that's a good one. About you, Andy?
One of my favorite movies as a kid was The Last Starfighter.
Oh, yeah.
I always thought I think it was Lord Krill. I think that was the main guy, but he had that red visor, and then he'd like just blast somebody. He'd flip that lens over his eye when he was about to deliver a line. And I always thought that was pretty cool. But my favorite alien villain is Thanos. It's Thanos. He's almost not a villain to me because he might be onto something. So I'm not going to rule him out as a hero, but definitely Thanos. He had the coolest lines. He looked like a badass. He was tougher than heck. And he was not going to let anybody get in his way at the expense of innocence. So Thanos is my favorite alien villain.
About you, Martin? What you carrying behind the sofa?
Yeah. Again, when I think it was Delvin brought up robots, because I can't think of an alien, but I just had to Google it because I couldn't remember the exact film. Does everyone remember the film Saturn 3 with Kurt Russell from the 70s?
Yeah, and
there was a robot in that. And he decapitates Kurt Russell at the end and just sticks his head on the top of himself. And I'm Googling it right now and I cannot find the robot's name, but that scared the bejesus out of me when I was growing up. It's one of those films that was on the shelf that I wasn't allowed to watch. But whatever the robot's name in Saturn 3 is, it's all I can go.
Hector.
Yeah. Great. If anyone hasn't seen that film, check it out.
It's got Farron Fawcett in it, by the way.
Yeah. Worth watching. What about you, Stu?
I'm going to agree with you, Si, with the aliens or the Martians from War of the Worlds, because that is pretty freaky. But I will. I'm going to go Predator. I know Zoe's put it in there, but I thought that was pretty awesome.
Predator.
Just the technology he had, and then when he actually caught his prey, it just skinned them, ripped the spines out with the skull, and then just polished the skull off and first cheers and put it on his belt with the rest of them. I just thought it was
Predator,
awesome looking alien, and he was one ugly looking mother. So yeah, Predator.
Predator was a great film.
Can I just say, Cat Knight's come up with a great answer in the comments as well, by the way. I'm a bit upset I didn't think of it. But Marvin the Martian. Brilliant.
Marvin! I love Marvin the Martian.
Yeah, great one, that.
What about yours, Mark? What would you say the alien that frightened you to death?
I would say Skeletor from Masters Universe was a really badass villain. Do you know what I mean? Oh, I'll definitely say that. But the one for me, Jabba the Hutt. Jabba the Hutt. I mean, he's a guy not to be messed with. His reputation. I mean, you heard about Jabba the Hutt for 2 movies before you actually saw him. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And the build up, and he's, you know, he was what a villain is. He had his own lair and his own gang and his own, you know, absolutely superb. Some of the chat saying Mars attacks. I agree with that. We were going back to.
What about General Zod from Superman?
We were talking. How could I possibly forget?
We were talking before about what scares you as a kid, and the thing is about Mars attacks was that woman walking across the road. Remember, when she'd walk like that, it scared the shit out of me as a kid.
Oh yeah, that robot. Yeah.
Jonathan says Scorpius from Farscape would be up there for top villains.
Yeah.
Kieran says the naked female alien in Life Force. G4 says Darth Maul. Ming the Merciless, we've got off TJC. Brian says the Independence Day guys. Darren says Predator. Star Trooper bugs. That's a good call.
That's what I said.
Yeah. Tony Z also agrees with Andy and says Thanos. Predator. Oh, there's our Luke. So let's have a look. The Borg Queen. She could scare me anytime she liked. Go back to Martyn's V answer. Davros from Doctor Who. Yeah, that was a scary one. Hey, Scuba, just wanted to pop in before I jump into a tank. Great idea for a stream replay squad. Hi, Pete. Nice to see you, buddy. The Weeping Angels in Doctor Who. Are the Weeping Angels the statue ones?
Yeah.
Right. Got you. Yeah, I can see that. The Fly's a great shout. Dom Taylor's here. Hey, Dom. E.T.'s finger, especially that. The alien entity for the Quartermass. What's this? The alien entity from the Quartermass experiment.
Quartermass. No, BBC program on it.
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
David the Triffids.
That's right. The David Triffids. That's a mad film.
VTR says The Thing.
Oh yeah. Good shout.
Yeah. And we've got to say Miss Trunchbull earlier. Who's Miss Trunchbull?
Matilda. She was a piece of work as well, isn't she?
Good call. Yeah, good call.
Well, she gets that little girl by the pigtails and let's go to the flyer. It's a great scene.
Marky D says, I tried to think of the most harmless thing, something that I love from my childhood, something that would never possibly destroy us.
So my next question to you all would be, if you could be a villain for the day, which villain would you be? Now, for me, I love vampires, so I would be Dracula, but it'd be for the night. It wouldn't be for the day. But mine would be Dracula. So this really goes out to anybody. Who would yours be?
Ooh. I'll go. I'd like to be a werewolf.
Oh, nice.
I think that's pretty cool. Just so I could have a bit of hair. That'd be fantastic.
Creature of the night like me, Stu. Creature of the night.
Yeah. But a werewolf. Yeah, that'd be pretty cool.
What do you really favor
Terminator 2.
Oh,
yeah.
What did you just say there, Dave?
The T-1000.
Oh,
Yeah.
Right, okay.
No, I just disguise myself as everybody and then go around
good one.
spiking them.
I think I'd be Club Alive on Rocky 3.
Club Alive.
Had everything. Do you know what I mean? I think I'd be him, yeah.
Club Alive, yeah. He's a villain, wasn't he?
I think I would probably go Will Teasel from Rambo, just because I'd fancy a crack at catching him.
Oh,
can I do it? Yeah, Will Teasel from Rambo. Yeah,
Will Teasel.
You know, I think I'd have to. I think if I was going to make the decision to be a villain, I'd want one that nobody would know that I'm the villain. So I go Kaiser Sose.
Nice.
Nice. Yeah.
I think
film.
purely because it looks like it was great fun. I think I'd want to be the sheriff of Nottingham out of Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And Christmas.
Alan Rickman was brilliant, wasn't he? Yeah.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Yeah.
Or any Bond villain would be good because you have really cool
Yeah.
houses, really cool gadgets. You can take over the world. That'd be cool for a day.
The Christopher
Yeah,
Lee
Bond.
now with the golden gun.
Yeah.
That'd be fun.
Scaramanga, is that what he was called in that? Scaramanga.
Yeah, Scaramanga.
Yeah.
And he has a little helper.
Darren said he'd be the
Scaramanga.
invisible man.
Visible.
Yeah.
Everpool. Yeah.
Great film. I remember watching Usual Suspects with my brother Rick. We were both sat there, bored out by Red going, this film is boring, yet everyone's telling us how good it is. And it's until the bit where Moff Gideon comes out of the hospital and goes, who's dies of Sonsei? And then that's it. That film just goes crazy from then on in, doesn't it? It was a great film, Usual Suspects.
Great film.
Loved it.
So Stu wants to be Teen Wolf.
Yeah, why not?
You should be Dark Helmet from Spaceballs.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
Surrounded by assholes.
Yeah.
Oh,
Right,
Simon
Darren-
Phoenix.
I've got Simon Phoenix on my list. Yeah, definitely.
Dario says that's easy and obvious. Darth Vader walking through my office at work with a lightsaber and forklifting and choking. Can you imagine? What time do you call this? Teeny's a bit of a push for ETR. He's over 50, you know. Did you miss the last 6 months of celebration?
Cheers, DJC. Thanks, mate.
Swearing my head off and learned how to use the 3 seashells. 3 seashells? What's that?
Nobody knows how to use the 3 seashells.
Biff Tannen from Back to the Future 2.
Oh, good shout.
Yeah. It's a
Yeah,
good one.
piece of working.
I'd be Count Dracula. That's the count with a silent zero.
So if we all said that it would be for the day, we'd all say. I said I'd be Dracula.
I'm still thinking, but I think the obvious one for me would be the Emperor Palpatine. But as a senator, though, not as the Emperor. So he's like.
Well, that'd be boring though, because it's only for the
Yeah,
day.
but
So
he's
you'd be looking
secretly-
at offices at the Death Star and stuff, wouldn't you? Like,
He's
this
secretly
is your
planning
office.
things that's going to happen in the future, like getting all the order 666 and whatever, and get all those commands ready, and then use his little powers to do certain things. Like, I would want that coffee, right? Use my Sith powers, right? Here's the coffee. I want that coffee now, and
right. So your whole thing about being a villain of the universe is I want my coffee. Brilliant.
Actually, can I change that to I want my tea, because I don't like coffee.
Oh, right, yeah.
Tea, thank you.
I'd just go with
It's
shabby,
too
sort of
weak.
like
Yeah, exactly.
Bond villain. I've always wanted a hollowed out mountains or volcano.
That's what I mean, Delvin.
It's sort of like it. I mean, I've never liked a lot of the Bond villains, but it's the ones that had all the gadgets and the secret hidden bases and sort of things like
Swimming
that.
pools with
I love
sharks in
them.
them. How cool is that?
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Hey, don't
because
step
Bond,
in
like,
there.
he always got off like a stainless steel elevator, didn't he? And then when the doors would part, it'd be like some massive room that was like just like crazy. He always went in the biggest rooms you've ever seen, James Bond, didn't he?
Yeah, can you imagine a estate agent trying to sell this villain's hideout, saying, right, I want a swimming pool, sharks in it, please, a bridge that collapses so someone goes in there, I want a door that's bomb-proof, I want many, many, many officers where all my...
Few
Yeah, but
sharks.
Mark,
Anyway.
we don't buy it. We don't go sold.
Yeah,
Do you know what I mean? We would.
it's like that Channel 4 program, whose home is whatever. What's your home today? Through the keyhole. Here's my villainous base. You can see this swimming pool. It's got about 3 sharks in it. So, yeah.
Denzel's Equalizer, Mr. B. No one ever lays their hands on him. Denzel's Equalizer. I don't think I've ever seen a Denzel's Equalizer film.
Oh, the
Oh, the great films. Yeah.
Rick Top from Snatch. Yeah.
Bricktop.
Oh,
yeah,
yeah.
that's a good shout. Yeah. Absolutely.
Good answer, Biker. Yeah. I'd be Goldfinger so I could just hang out with Pussy Galore, says Pod Racing Pals.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be a Von villain. They're always missing body parts. That's a good call. Yeah, most of them are.
Body parts, yeah. They are, aren't they?
I'm trying to think.
Here's a
one that
question
isn't,
for you. Who would you say was the greatest dressed villain of all time? Now, for me, I've got 3. It's the Riddler, but Frank Gershwin's Riddler from the original 66 when he wore the black and green suit. It's the Joker and it's Dracula. They, for me, will always be the three greatest, nicest dressed villains. But there's a lot of nicely dressed villains.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go the DC route again, Si, and I'm just going to say Max Schreck from Batman Returns.
Very snappy
call.
dresser.
Yeah, I was a fancy dresser. Yeah.
Yeah.
Ming, scales. Yeah.
Who was the guy in the Princess and the Frog, or what was it called? Tiana's Bayou. What was it? Dr. Facilier. I think he's quite a snazzy looking dressed kind of guy.
Him with the top hat and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Quite snazzy.
I'm going to go with Hans Gruber from Die Hard. He wears nice suits from John Phillips in London.
John Phillips in London.
He's a snappy guy, wasn't he? Hans Gruber. Always looked the part.
Yeah.
I'm going Tarkin, Death Star, always crisp and
Tarkin always looked the part.
Always looked the part. Very smart. Yeah. And from Enter the Dragon. Yeah, he always looked good. And from Enter the Dragon.
Mr. Han.
Dr. Evil was smart. Yeah, he was. Yeah. Prince Humperdinck from The Princess Bride. He always turned out well.
About you, Martin? Who do you think's a snappy dresser?
I'm struggling. Come back to me. I'm really struggling.
You look nice.
Most of the villains that I'm thinking of, they're either horror villains or I suppose some of the Bond villains would have looked pretty cool, wouldn't they? I'm drawing a blank on this one.
We'll come back
Agent Smith from The Matrix.
Oh, nice. Good call. Good
Yeah.
call. Yeah.
Very good.
Count Zarth Arn from Star Crash. What's Count?
Who's that?
All of these stuff. I'm thinking these lads are making this up. Do you know
I
what I
remember
mean?
Star Crash. I remember the film.
I'm going to
If
go
you haven't
with
seen Star Crash,
Emperor.
you've got to go and see it. It's hilarious.
Right. Okay.
I'm going to go with Emperor Palpatine.
Yeah.
Purely because he's dressed for comfort and he looks like he's just walking around in his dressing gown all day long. And I can identify with that. That's like comfort.
Brilliant.
It's sort of like dressed for winter and sort of like just snuggling up.
So
and sort of
fashion
like,
to you, Andy, is comfort. Fashion
Yeah,
to
it
you
is.
comfort. You look
Exactly
very
that.
comfortable.
He
I'm having
rules the
that.
galaxy, so if anyone says anything, he just sort of zaps them. It's sort of like,
Yeah. At least his dry cleaning bill's quite low. It'll be just, this is my cloak for Monday. This is my cloak for Tuesday.
exactly.
Oh, a bit of blood. Okay, I'll get my Thursday's cloak instead.
Who was the guy in Big Trouble in Little China? He was a really old feeble guy when he went.
Oh, not Dehan.
Sorry. Can I just do one thing? How did he go? What did he do? How did he go? The guy from Big Little Trouble in the Child. What did he do? You're welcome, sir. You're welcome.
That replaced.
Why did I do that again? Unbelievable. Yeah.
That was so funny. That.
Brilliant. Yeah.
The character was
Mike
David
says, "Come on."
Lopan.
Lopan, that's it. Yeah, Lopan.
Yeah.
Come on, best dressed villain is Boba Fett. What do you reckon to that?
Yes.
Yeah, I won't disagree with that.
Cool outfit.
Is he still a villain though?
That's the problem.
Yes, he is.
Yeah.
I would say
He's
yes.
a- He's a villain if you pay him. He'll be a villain. I think that's the best way with Boba Fett, isn't it?
Palp says Michael
Well, when he
Myers
was
started
cool.
the 80s boiler suit trend. Well, I suppose he did.
Yeah, good old boiler suit.
He
Yeah.
wore it. Everybody wore one. Yeah, I suppose that's right. Cat Knight says Jim Carrey after he puts on the mask. Would you class the mask as a villain? Actually, that's a good question.
Anti-villain. Anti-villain.
Yeah.
So would you? I mean,
Like-
somebody put in the comments John Wick earlier. Would he be an anti-hero? I don't know. Would you class him as a villain, John Wick?
I think so.
Oh, he's a cold-blooded killer, so yeah, I reckon so. Yeah.
But I've only seen one John Wick film, so I couldn't really say what his character's turned into. I wouldn't know. How many films has there been? Four, is it?
Yeah.
Yeah, and that spin-off now as well, Ballerina.
Yeah, they're good fun to watch. They're good fun to watch. If you just
They're
want a
great
couple hours of
movies, yeah.
carnage, just
I agree, Luke.
they're good.
Yeah.
They're good film. Yeah.
I just like the first one. I didn't watch that. I did. I like that.
Star Crash was one of those first Star Wars rip-offs. Worth it for Caroline Munro, says Mark.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Yeah.
Snoke in his Hugh Hefner gold robe. Yeah, he did look smart, though, I suppose, yeah. Drax was a smartly dressed Bond villain. I agree from that. Hela from Thor. She always looked good. I agree with Matt, Mr. B. Yeah.
Tidy.
Lopan, David Lopan.
David Lopan.
I remember Tim Roth and Rob Roy. He was a fancy
Oh.
dad, says James. Yeah, he was.
What an evil bastard he was. Yeah.
Bill from
Yeah.
Kill Bill. He was smartly dressed. Yeah. Yes, James, very posh. Kingpin, always in
Kingpin.
crispy clear white suit.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Kingpin, yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks, Stu. You just scared the shit out of me then. It's Norman Bates, right? Wow, Delvian's voice is like a film trailer voice in a world. Look at that. It's all the way from Australia. Best dressed villain was Cyril Shear. Andy would like him as he basically wore a dressing gown with a hood.
Cyril Shear, yeah, from the Raccoons.
Yeah.
Cyril Shear, yeah. Yeah, good shout.
Used to smoke a cigar, didn't he?
Yeah.
Let's have a look. John Wick is an assassin. Surely that is more evil than good, says G.
Yeah, but it's the reasons behind why he gets back into the game, isn't it? You know, so it's revenge rather than just hired gun. Yeah.
Candy from Django. Yeah, I agree with that. You know, what was his last name? Candy what?
Bar.
Who Leonardo DiCaprio played. Great.
I remember.
Two-Face and Joker. They always look the Kemp twins in The Craze.
Yeah, good ones.
Beg being train spotted, suit, trousers, and a vest. Great combination. There you go. Hey, George.
My next question to you all is: in the future, what do you think would be more remembered, considering the 80s generation we lived in? Do you think the Universal monsters will be remembered over the villains from the 80s movies? So 50 years, 60 years from now, yeah, we'll have Dracula and we'll have things like that still, 100 years, say. But will Freddy and Jason and all these characters that we've known from the slasher genre, which basically we still get slasher genres to this day because of them, how good they were, are they going to be seen still in the same light? Will people still love Freddy Krueger? And are they going to talk about like they do Dracula and they do The Mummy and Frankenstein?
I think if Hollywood continues the way it's going at the moment, where every 10 years they reboot something and then they remake it, then there's a possibility that Freddy, Jason, etc. will still be a thing in 50, 60 years' time. But the thing that gives me pause is the fact that those Frankenstein stories and Dracula stories have lived on for a very, very long time, and they're arguably just as strong today as they were back then.
Agreed.
And I look at, you know, sorry to go all Disney, but in Florida at the moment, obviously they've just opened a new theme park, and one of the lands is based on the old Frankenstein Dracula monsters.
Yeah, I've been watching everything about it. I'm obsessed with that theme park. It looks fantastic.
And I think, you know, they do a lot of research and marketing into these things, and they wouldn't have chosen to build an entire multi-million-pound land if they thought that those vintage Universal monsters weren't going to be something that's going to carry on for years to come. And I hope so too, because Dracula for me, you know, has led to so many great films. Interview with the Vampire, the series Interview with the Vampire. You know, I'm a big fan of Buffy the Vampire Slayer, and it's that all stems from that story, really. So I think, to make a short answer long, yeah, the Universal monsters will be.
I agree. I look at it as the villains from the 80s, as Size said, they are 80s classics. The Universal monsters are timeless classics.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, that's what I put it down
I mean,
to,
they've
yeah.
just done another Frankenstein now for, is it Netflix that's doing it? And it's look, and then Pod Racing Pals. Have you seen the trailer for the new Frankenstein by Guillermo del Toro?
Yeah, looks great.
Yeah,
I think in 40 years' time, I think like characters like Freddy and all that lot from the slasher movies, I think they are they are classic, iconic characters. But I think it's not just the movies. I think it's the merchandise as well. You've got all the shirts to T-shirts and stuff like that. You've got the figures that NECA are doing. So I think that will still live on in that respect. Whether they still carry on doing the movies, and I don't know. I hope they don't. I think they should just leave it. But I think they are iconic characters for sure. And I still think that 40 years time, I think they'll still be around with merchandise and stuff like that. Not so much the movies.
well, it's just I just watched that latest Nosferatu film, and it frightened the bejesus out of me. And nothing happened.
Yeah, I need to watch that.
The way it's done and the cinematography in it and the way it looks, that's more eerie than the actual thing itself. And it's like frightening all the way through because of the aesthetics of it. When it's Freddy and Jason, to me, they're just like slasher movies. What more can you do with them? But
Yeah.
you know, with the Universal monsters, you can do all types with them.
There's lots
Yeah,
of
I
different
agree. Sorry, I agree with the lads. Sorry, go on, Andy.
Sorry, I mean, I prefer sort of like some of the classic sort of like monster films, and it's interesting you mentioned sort of Frankenstein, because a lot of people think that the villain in Frankenstein is the monster, but it's not. It's the scientist, it's the professor, sort of like Frankenstein. He's the monster. It's sort of like he's the villain, and it's the monster, his creation, that sort of like is the victim. And I think there's a little bit more depth to sort of like some of it, because they're based on literature. And I think a lot of the sort of like the villains from the 80s, as good as they are, some of them they're derived from some of those classics, sort of like they're almost like collective archetypes, sort of like from older stories. So
I agree. It's like man playing God. That's really what Frankenstein's all about. And that's what Mary Shelley was doing at the time. She was saying how, you know, the evolution of man, and where does he stop? Now he's creating that kind of thing. So I agree with that. It is literature.
I think. Again, just to reiterate what a lot of the lads have said, I think the thing about the Universal monsters is obviously it's that word universal. The thing is, like, Freddy is a very specific character. It's Freddy Krueger. Michael Myers is Michael Myers. Kind of anybody could be a werewolf. Anybody could be bitten and become a vampire. Do you know what I mean? So they're very generalized, and it's not just there's only one werewolf. There's only one Freddy Krueger. There's only one Michael. You can't just have one werewolf. You get bitten by a werewolf, anyone can be a werewolf. And I think there's these characters that carry on because it's almost generalized. Anyone can be one. And they're often the focal point of stories you maybe tell your kids. You don't say Freddy Krueger, you go, oh, they became a werewolf, or they became a vampire, do you know what I mean? It can be anyone in a way. Whereas these characters like, you know, Jason Voorhees or whatever, that's one man, and it's very specific, and nobody else can be that person. So I think they will.
Well, you've got to look in another way too. To me as well, you can do so many different genres with Universal monsters. You know, you can make slapstick. I mean, look at Love at First Bite with George Hamilton when he's Dracula. He's one of the, or The Man with Two Brains, even though it's not, it is. Do you know what I mean? And that's the thing. There's so many different things you can do with those sort of characters. What's the one? The Gene Wilder Young Frankenstein. How good is that movie? And that's, you know, it's taking that genre.
Excellent film.
That's what I mean. Turned it. So it doesn't always. Those villains don't always have to be in the horror genre. You can make slapstick out of it. You can make comedy out of it. You know, drama out of it. And I suppose that's what I don't think you could do that with a Jason, because if you made a Jason movie or a Freddy movie as a slapstick, I don't think you're going to get the same vibe.
Well, in a sense, you sort of could have done, because look in the 80s where we'd get like these 18 certificate movies, and the next thing there'd be a children's cartoon, and there'd be a children's line of figures, like off RoboCop and off Terminator or Freddy. You know, so you'd be like, how come kids are playing with things like this when there's no way we could watch these films? And yet, we thought, like, this is popular, let's make a childer version, let's make a friendlier. Rambo, let's make a friendlier version. And yet, we get them cartoons up. Do you know what I mean? We loved them as kids.
Yeah,
because let's be fair, we're not really going to see RoboCop when it comes out when we're only 10. Do you know what I mean? And things like that. We eventually get around to watching them, but I think that's where, like you just said, then it's the other side of it, the slapstick side, that sort of fills in for you until you're old enough to watch like the original versions of them.
Yeah, good point.
Yeah, they did that a lot, didn't they, in the 80s?
Mark, you says.
Sorry, as you're talking about RoboCop, can I just link something? Like, I will nominate another villain. Whoever decided to make RoboCop 3 a PG must be one of those biggest villains. Because after watching RoboCop 1 and 2 and then 3 and how crap it was, sorry, I didn't like it.
Yeah,
he deserves a nominated to be one of the worst villains around for deciding to make. Can you imagine a boardroom meeting saying, "Okay, RoboCop 2, RoboCop 1, very good. Let's make it PG." Why?
It did take a thing, didn't it? Marky D says, I think characters like Leatherface, Michael Myers, Freddy and Jason will still be remembered even without the reboots.
Yeah,
they will be remembered,
Now, say that though, now RoboCop's just been mentioned. Nobody's mentioned Clarence Boddicker yet, have they?
Yeah, one of the lads in the chat. In the chat,
right.
Piece of work, that Boddicker, wasn't it?
Oh, yeah.
Zoe T said you can even have a Were Rabbit from Wallace and Gromit. She's got a
Jason and Were Rabbit. Great film, that.
Young Frankenstein is an all-time classic, and AB Normal Brain.
Also, I just remembered another villain that hasn't been mentioned, Carter Burke.
Ooh, who's that? Carter Burke.
Alien.
Aliens.
Aliens.
Yeah.
Corporate villain.
Now, my next question to you all is: which character do you think, from comic books and from superhero films, has the greatest run of villains? Now, for me, it will always be Batman. Batman's rogue gallery, to me, nearly 100 years old, absolutely fantastic. Look forward to all the new ones added. But when you think of Spider-Man and you think of his rogue villains, it's very, very close. You know what I mean? It must be that far away from Batman's rogue villains. But outside of that, I was thinking of so many comic book characters do have a bit of a piece of work when it comes to a villain, some crossovers in your Kingpins and stuff. So who would you say is your favourite comic book character villain? For me, again, it's the Rogues Gallery of Batman.
I would say, I mean, I never really read DC Comics as a kid, so I can't go the comic book way. But after watching The Penguin on HBO, and the way Colin Farrell portrayed him, and the way they did it, I mean, that was a masterpiece to me. I mean, what a villain that was! But you saw the birth of it, and like the dawn of him coming, and how he got all the B-rate gangsters to become the big things. And I just thought, what a villain! And how clever and well written that was. So I'd say the Penguin.
Yeah. I'm going to say Mr. Freeze. Mr. Freeze.
Mr. Freeze is a complex villain, isn't he? Yeah. There's reasons to his madness.
Tortured man. Yeah.
I'm going to say Kingpin.
Yeah,
Kingpin. Yeah.
I think I didn't know too much about him. I know the first Daredevil movie with Ben Affleck, and it was it Robert Duncan? No, who was the big guy that played Kingpin?
Michael Clark Duncan.
That's it. So I didn't really pay too much attention, but then as soon as they re-released Daredevil on Netflix, and you saw Vincent D'Onofrio as Kingpin, I just bang. And now I've seen him in the animated series as well, the Spider-Man animated series. I just think what a fantastic character, absolutely superb. So Kingpin for me, yeah.
It's funny because the majority of our answers tonight have always been thoughtful villains, never the must-trust twirling ones. It's like we like villains that kind of think for themselves and are smart and this and that. I think that comes across more villainous, doesn't it? Really, when it's like that. G4 says to be different from Sai, he's going with G.I. Joe villains. Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah.
Darren says the Joker.
Yeah. I mean, to go with Sai, I would go Joker. Purely because I know we're talking comic books, but purely because Jack Nicholson is my Joker. It just, I think he's given. I mean, Heath Ledger played a great Joker, but Jack Nicholson will always be my Joker, and he's given me a huge affection for the character in general. So I would probably go Joker.
Yeah. Great character, wasn't he, Jack Nicholson in that?
Brilliant. Just the right amount of everything, psychotic, humour, just. Yeah.
Well, let me ask you a question then. Would you put that Joker character then with the sort of Universal Monsters where you can do anything with him? Because we've seen from Cesar Romero play Joker to the way Heath Ledger played him to the way, Jack Nicholson, all different,
No, I don't think I would, because I mean, obviously you have to change actors as you go, I guess, depending on the timeline and stuff. But it's still based on one specific character. It's the joke. Do you know what I mean? In theory, it's still the same person. Whereas, like I said, with Dracula or whatever, you can have vampires. Anyone could be one. You can't just have anyone be Joker. You can have multiple vampires. If you bite 10 people, you got 10 vampires. You can't have 10 Jokers at the same time. If that makes sense.
That's a good point. Yeah,
so I just think, you can change obviously the actor and who portrays him, but it's still portraying that same person, one person. So yeah. But I just think Jack Nicholson. I mean, Michael Keaton's my Batman. Jack Nicholson is my Joker. And whilst I think Christian Bale did a great job and Heath Ledger did an exceptional job, I'll never waver from 89 Batman. I just think it's a great movie. And
89 Batman. Yeah.
I'm going to throw in another name, Megatron. No one's mentioned Megatron as a comic book.
Yeah, that's a great shout.
Did you say that?
You say that? Yeah. I was gonna. And actually, specific. No, I'm not going to talk over you. You talk away, but it's specifically the comic book Megatron as opposed to the cartoon. Comic book Megatron is a lot more villainous and sort of cunning and sort of just malevolent. But anyway, you carry on, Stu. Sorry.
No, that's what I was going to say.
welcome.
Jonathan Redmond says,
Cheers, Andy.
but for all villains, it has to be Judge Death from 2000. And yeah, that's a good call. Yeah. Marky D says, still love Heath Ledger's Joker. Yeah, I suppose
It's brilliant portrayal.
because if you look at
is
Nicholson to Ledger, they're two completely different Jokers, aren't they? Really?
Yeah,
They're not
yeah.
played the same. So yeah,
He does a great job as Heath Ledger, though. Yeah, you've got to give him that.
Tony Z says comic version Green Goblin, Doctor Doom.
Yeah.
Kingpin's Green Goblin. So I don't know whether you heard Andy say. Andy said Megatron, but Megatron from the comics was really, really good.
Yeah, but I've always loved Megatron in all forms, especially the movies. Megatron in Transformers 1, the latest one, he's a right piece of work. He's proper nasty in that. It's quite surprised how mean he was in it. Yeah, so
yeah, I've not seen it yet. I'll have to watch that.
oh, it's a great film, Luke. If you love Transformers, you'll love it.
This is kind of interesting. Tommy Lee Jones's Two-Face. You see, now I was always under the portrayal that everybody hated that movie because of the camp of it and so forth. So what do you think of that? His portrayal of the character's total villainy.
Yeah, I've not watched it enough, so I've only watched it a couple of times, that movie. I'm not
I like him as
a
Two-Face.
fan of the...
No, he played the 66 sort of Schumachery, jokery sort of camp for what it was, and I can understand him doing it for what the film was, because like I said, Schumacher just had this thing, let's do another 66, I'm sick of the Dark Batman, but it didn't work, did it? People love the Dark Batman.
Yeah.
I hate that movie.
Although I think Aaron Eckhart played a good...
Yeah.
Good shout, Delvian. IDW's Megatron is proper scary, says Jonathan.
There you go, Andy.
Comic book
And
Megatron
even
by extension. Yeah, look at that.
The modern Skybound transfer, it's blinding comic series, actually. I'm really enjoying that at the moment.
Wow. Yeah, but comic by extension, the comic book Galvatron, great villains.
I had Galvatron on my list. Yeah, Galvatron.
Sorry, Stu, I stole that choice from you there.
No,
That was your
it's okay.
choice.
It's all right. It's
But
okay.
do you know what? No regrets.
I say
Hashtag
DC
sorry, not
villains
sorry.
from the 70s and 80s, especially the evil counterparts to the heroes like Bizarro, Professor Zoom, Owlman. Yeah. Awful film, but Roll Julia is M. Bison. They were comics. Street Fighter means, isn't it? M. Bison. Yeah.
I've got a question, if I may.
Yeah.
How do you prefer your villains? Do you prefer them dark, like as in like, you know, the Joker and stuff like that from the Dark Knight and those kind of things, or do you prefer them to be really camp and corny?
Somewhere in the middle.
Dark, smart.
Yeah,
smart.
Yeah.
I like
Really-
villains,
really
Stu,
sinister,
that
yeah.
don't think the villains, that think what they're doing is the right thing to do. You know, they don't come across as I'm going to take over the world. And I must. The villains that think about what they're doing and the way they come across, and like when something happens and they try and get emotion out of them, they're like, well, that has to happen for a reason.
Yeah, not like Pinky in the Brain, you know. Where they just,
Yeah.
well, that goes to what Andy was saying earlier about Thanos, wasn't it? Because Thanos genuinely believes what he's doing is good. He genuinely believes he's doing a good thing, and he's almost saving the world. He genuinely believes he's doing right, and that I think that makes the best villains. You're right. That they genuinely believe they're doing a good thing. You know,
it's like Megatron. Megatron's the same. Megatron generally believes that this is right for Cybertron, and this is the way to be. And he doesn't think that he's the villain. He doesn't think that he's doing anything wrong or causing terrorist acts. He believes that this is the way it should be run. So, on that sense of it, a bit like Parliament, isn't it? You take which side you want.
You know,
it's all like the Tarkin situation for me. He never loses his temper ever. He's very calm, very, and the way this is a guy who just blew up a planet in front of somebody. You know, he's like, and I just love the way he comes across. Yeah.
I mean, but that's the thing in Star Wars. Sorry, Martin. Do you want to?
No, you go, Andy. Honestly,
everyone sort of remembers Darth Vader as being the main villain in Star Wars, but actually, Tarkin was much more evil.
Yeah,
I mean, he literally sort of like just used the threat, like you say, blowing up a planet to get information. He gets the information, blows it up anyway. Just to sort of like prove a point.
He never really understood Vader. Through the books, he always says that. Like Tarkin was like, "Why is he here?" Do you know what I mean? He doesn't know who he was, and he just came along and so forth. And I don't know whether it never really touched on it, but I don't know whether Tarkin knew about the Sith or not when it came to the Empire. But when it came to the Empire, he was all in. He was diehard for it, you know. So, Martin,
I didn't realize.
I missed the question. I'm sorry, but is it your favorite comic book villain?
Yeah.
roughly speaking. Yeah, I mean, I've got to be honest, I don't particularly read comics. So I'm only be able to choose through the movies that I've seen. And I've seen a lot of comic book movies, as all of us probably have. And the one that always sticks with me is Dr. Octopus from Spider-Man 2.
Oh, yes.
I think
that.
that's one of the greatest comic book movies ever made. But he's such a layered villain in that movie. You know, he's like, I think you said earlier, Shabby, you know, he doesn't think he's doing evil for evil. He's
just going to say that. Genuinely believes he's doing good. Yeah.
Exactly. And when he came back in the new Spider-Man, I was absolutely overjoyed because I think they nailed him, to be quite honest with you, in that as well. So you have to excuse my comic book ignorance, but I think Dr. Octopus, from all the movies that I've seen, would probably be my favourite villain. Yeah,
that's a good shout, and I love the fact he talks to his tentacles, doesn't he? Like he has conversations with him, doesn't he? Yeah, it's cool.
Yeah,
Let's be honest. We all talk to our tentacle. Let's be honest.
No, they wouldn't be called tentacles, would they? Whatever they'd be called.
Mine would size of it. Anyway, what were you gonna say something, Donut? Were you gonna say something?
Also, only about Tarkin. Now, I didn't realize about, thanks to Andor, about him landing his ship on a group of people. Because they're in the way. I didn't realize that was Tarkin. And when they mentioned Tarkin, I had to do a bit of research. I thought, so that's the first massacre they were on about. He landed his ship on because to just get rid of all the people. He just landed his ship on them. He didn't care who they were.
I'm a big fan of them sort of villains. It's like the villains like that, or villains that simply have had enough and they just go all out. Do you know what I mean? Something, and then because it makes better backstories as well. You know, when you realize, because you kind of, in a way, I prefer villains. You kind of understand why they're doing it. Do you know what I mean? Like, well, I can understand why he's done this, and I can understand, instead of like, oh, I'm, cape over the eyes and all that sort of stuff. I just think it makes it a lot more, you're a lot more passionate about villains that have a story, aren't you, really?
Not only that, but the villains, they've got to be a credible threat, because of every villain, you've got to have a hero. So they've got to be sort of like that credible sort of like balance or counter. Sort of like, otherwise, where's the challenge? Where's the threat? Where's the story sort of like to overcome really in the film? So
I think this is why I think one of my favorite scenes I think the favorite in Star Wars for me is when Luke and Vader are on Endor talking. And even then, all the way through that, Luke is trying to get through the passion of him, to try and get to the emotional side of him, and he's so far gone that he was like, it's too late for me. Do you know what I mean? And it's just that to me portrays a proper villain. Like, this is your son. He's tried his hardest, But
what's great about that scene, though, Shabby, is when he says, it's too late for me, son.
Yeah, exactly. He actually says it.
That's the moment there is still conflict.
And it's behind a mask. So all that emotion comes out from a black mask as well.
Yeah. And they do that in Kenobi as well, in the final scenes when him and Vader have their battle, when I didn't kill Anakin, or something like Vader did, or remember the bit where I can't remember the actual line.
Especially Skywalker. I did.
Perfect. Good call, Mark. Yeah, that was a great. And that's
one of the best lines I heard for a long time. Yeah, and especially the actual camera shot of Vader in that red light. Vader, Anakin in the red light.
That scene's really interesting because they switch between Hayden Christensen and James L. Jones doing the voices. Yeah. And if you listen carefully, when he says Obi-Wan's name, Hayden Christensen's voice isn't used because Vader can't bear that he would use say the name Obi-Wan, so they have it so Vader says it. I think that's just a very small detail, but if you pick up on it, it really makes the scene really cool.
Yeah, I agree with that 100%. I think that's why, if we had to do like a thing, I think the majority would say Vader. And it's funny, it's because as it's progressed and as the stories and the comics and this and that, he does become your ultimate villain, doesn't he? He really
I'll still prefer the classic Vader to the prequel Vader, because when Vader came along in Star Wars and Empire Strikes Back, you didn't know his backstory. You looked at him walking through, right at the beginning of Star Wars with his stormtroopers. You've been thinking, oh my God, what the beep is he? And he's making that breathing noise as well. You didn't know why he's breathing. And then he have this booming James L. Jones voice coming out. And if you're 5 or 6 years old and seeing this figure in black coming towards you, you're thinking, what the beep is that? And
Yeah.
it really shook me up. I was going as a 5-6-year-old going, oh my God, what the hell was that? I couldn't swear or anything because I was only 5 or 6 years old and I was very innocent. But but then as you got older and older and the prequels came through, you had a backstory for Vader, and it kind of made it him a bit more whimsy. But then there was scenes in Return of the Sith where you saw the evil Vader coming back, like the Young'uns scene, obviously, and the scene when he turns into Vader when he gets cut in half and the higher ground, and then of course Obi-Wan brought the more sinister Vader back, I thought.
Yeah.
And let me ask you a question. Are you more, do you ready when they give these sort of mysterious characters, mysterious villains a backstory? Like, I love Boba Fett as a kid, and I didn't really need a backstory for Boba Fett. And what we got, I'm like, I really didn't need a backstory for Boba Fett.
I think for Vader it helped a little bit. I wasn't too bad about the Vader's backstory, but I think it ruined Boba Fett's backstory though, because they really wanted a Boba Fett story, and the way they did it, the Boba Fett series was pretty decent, but to be frank, series 2 was just the Mandalorian, because he came in suddenly and took the limelight away.
I've always said that basically the Mandalorian stole Boba Fett's backstory.
Yeah, exactly.
If they hadn't have made the series The Mandalorian, they would have just done that with Boba Fett. And because
let me ask you this, Martin, though. If they'd have done that, though, and it would have been Boba Fett, this is the Boba Fett, and it was the Mandalorian, and you did get the Mandalorian season 3, but Boba Fett, would you have still accepted that was Boba Fett's backstory? Because for me, looking at the Mandalorian, and I really like the Mandalorian's good, and I like season 3. I think the comic book guy in me, I really liked all the big monsters every week and all that and everything. I did, but can they push it a bit too far sometimes? You think, well, if that was Boba Fett's backstory, would we as Boba Fett fans from the original days be happy with that? Would you have said, yeah, that's Boba Fett?
Yeah, well, okay, I think I know where you're going, and I probably would agree with you. But when we first see Boba Fett in The Mandalorian season 2, and he lands on that planet and just starts taking out those stormtroopers, and then he blows up the 2 ships using his rocket. If that was how they treated Boba Fett, I would be like, yeah, I'm all in for that, please. Thank you very much. I'll have that on a weekly basis, please. Serve that up. But they didn't do that. They turned him into a bit of a wimp, and it was kind of like it was a different character we were watching when it came to his own show.
It was a different character,
You should have called the Book of Fennec Shand. That's what it should have been called. She made the decisions, and when she didn't make the decisions, the stupid scooter kids made the decision at the end. Let's stop here. Let's not go back to the fortress.
I think
she went behind his back and made the decisions for him.
Disney were under a lot of pressure. I think Disney were under a lot of pressure because Boba Fett was, when I was watching it, was the second most popular villain after Vader, and everyone loved Boba Fett. They wanted to hear a backstory, and he kind of died in Return of the Jedi, filling that pit. So they had to think of a way of getting. Of course, they did it in the. Dare I have to say it? The Star Wars Christmas special. His backstory came through there, and of course the Sarlacc pit and how he came out the Sarlacc pit, how it started, and then they did the storyline from there. But yeah, I thought when he arrived on Mandalorian, that's how I want to see Boba Fett, not his backstory.
No. What I don't like is when they start making these villains, they try and make them relatable. But I don't want to be like, you shouldn't have to relate to every single character or every single movie franchise. I would just like a character who's evil just for the sake of being pure evil. I don't want to know why he got to be evil. It doesn't matter. Let's just have a story where he's just evil. You don't have to go back 5 or 6 years and oh bless him, he's a cute little kid and let's relate to him and all that sort of stuff. Do you know what I mean? It worked with Anakin and Darth Vader because that was the story. But with other movies and other villains, I don't think you should have to make them.
It's funny you said that, Stu, because I agree with that, because that's what really let me down about the Suicide Squad. When I was watching the Suicide Squad, I was really looking forward to it, being a big DC fan. And then when it came out, I was like, hang on, these aren't the good guys. None of these are like... I couldn't understand the element of them trying to make them like the heroes of the film.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They're not. These are a right bunch of nasty characters. And do you know what I mean? Any minute now, they'll blow their heads off if they go off any trail whatsoever. And in the film, they were sort of portrayed as like hero-ish. When James Gunn came on to do the second one, he sort of put that sort of bad guy element back in a bit more. But I know what you mean there. When you make them relatable, then it's like they're not as bad would you say Disney have that problem now with Star Wars, with Disney, with Marvel villains? These
No,
sort
it's
of
not
like
just Marvel villains, Shabby. It's not just Marvel villains. They're doing it with they're doing it with some of the traditional movies. Was it Cinderella or no? What was the other one? What's Maleficent? They went back
Sleeping
into
Beauty.
Maleficent. Maleficent.
They tried to make her relatable, and look what she had to go through, and this is why she. You don't need that sometimes. Let's just have it where people are just evil for the sake of being evil.
I think it also depends on the investment of the character, though, because you read the book Tarkin, and it starts off when he was a kid. His parents would send him into the wilderness for 6 to 8 weeks with hundreds of animals that were going to kill him, and it's like Australia times 20 where he was. Do you know what I mean? There's everything out there for him, and the idea was it was how to survive, thinking not to kill him, how to use tactics and this and that and so forth. Then it went on, and now he went to military school on Coruscant and stuff. I would have loved to have seen a backstory of that because I was invested in that character. But Boba Fett, the thing for Boba Fett for me was the mysterious of it was his character. That's what it was about. Why it was mysterious and so forth. If it was me, I would have done him in the book of Boba Fett, that part where Cad Bane walked up. I would have made that Boba Fett and had that cameo appearance for like 10 minutes or something. Yeah. The way he came up and shot the sheriff and walked, we'd all go, no way, and left it as that. Having a whole series about him, it was, to me, it was not bad. I'm not going to say it was crap, but I just didn't need to know a backstory. So I agree with what you're saying.
I mean, you look at the recent series that we had with the Penguin. I mean, look at the Penguin as a kid. He was just an evil little shit back then. Do you know what I mean? So they've absolutely nailed that.
I agree.
That kid was
He was superb, wasn't he? Absolutely superb.
Never more have I wanted to kick a kid in the head as much as that kid in that. He was brilliant, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was superb.
Yeah. Well, listen, I've got 2 questions left, so I'll ask you the second to last now. First one is, if you could direct your own horror movie, what genre would you choose? Would you make a slasher? Would you make a monster? Would you make a ghost movie? What horror movie would you choose? If it was me, I'd use a slasher, just fill it with page 3 girls running around a lake and somebody's after them. That'd be mine.
Also, last Sunday then, Si. Last Sunday, yeah.
Well, I wish.
Is that Benny Hill horror, is it?
Yeah.
Benny Hill horror.
Sorry, me.
I know what I would do.
Sci-fi horror because I love sci-fi so much. So it would have to be it would have to be something along the lines of perhaps Saturn 3 that I mentioned earlier and Aliens, something along those lines because I just love science fiction and Aliens is probably one of my favorite top 5 movies of all time. It's one of those films that I can put on all the time and never get bored of watching it. So yeah, just a quick answer from me: sci-fi horror.
Would you do the special edition Aliens?
I find that with James Cameron films and a lot of other films, special editions just trump the original version. So it has to be special edition for me.
It has to be, yeah.
I need a placental let them mail in Australia. Spiders and snakes and reason. I'd have a twist. I'd wait till the last half an hour of the movie and then go, no way. You know what I mean? So the villains like that. Because I always think they're the best villains. Do you know? So I would do something all the way through, like a drama-filled thriller kind of thing with things going on. And it's not until the last half an hour the twist is it's him or it's her, and you're like, no, what the France? I don't believe it. That's how I do it.
I've dabbled in a bit of like script writing before, and I've had the idea of a guy that lives at the back of a petrol station in a little caravan. All kids are terrified of him, and he's got a real nasty backstory and all that. Yeah. Curtis Cliffman, I called him.
Curtis Cliffman.
Curtis Cliffman.
And he can only use one arm. He can only use one arm everywhere he went.
What's this guy done? Or why is he living in a caravan? And they all get a bit nosy and they discover something.
Man in the caravan.
Yeah, I'd watch that. Definitely.
Yeah, Curtis Cliffman.
Dave, you finish that screenplay and I'll draw it out as a comic book. We'll sell it. We'll sell it to Marvel.
No, you want it to be good side. Don't sell it to them. Sequels to the sequels, episode 10, 11, and 12. Terrifying. G4 said, I would make a sci-fi whodunit suspense horror movie. Matt's Collection says, go on.
That was going to be my choice. Who done it? Murder mystery. I
like Clue.
I haven't done a good murder mystery. In fact, I think the best murder mystery I saw last was probably Knives Out, which surprisingly is sort of Rian Johnson, who kind of killed Star Wars. And actually, it's what Shabby was saying with twist villain, because what's his name? Captain America, the actor. He was the twist villain. Sorry for spoilers, but I love a good twist.
No, I agree. I mean, I've always liked Rian Johnson movies. Always. Do you know what I mean? I like Brick. I like, you know what I mean? He made some great stuff. I can't fault him for that. But his Knives Out is a whodunit. I mean, I know there's a new one coming as well, isn't there? Netflix just introduced the third one. I think they're great movies. But yeah, I agree with that. MOD says Homelander is a great villain. Before forgot about him. Boys.
Yeah, Negan as well. Yeah,
Negan. Yeah.
It's awfully horrible. Yeah.
I thought of one, Ramsay Bolton from Game of Thrones.
The best thing I like about him, Martin, is that he had the best death I've ever seen in my life. And it was the most horrific thing to watch, but you were like, I'm going to watch every bit of this because you deserve everything. It was like, oh. He was a bastard, wasn't he? Well, obviously, like Delvin, I won't spoil what happens to him if nobody's seen it, but I would say if you haven't seen it,
So he says, I love a good whodunit thriller with twist galore. Yeah, I think a few of us like that sort of thing. Yeah.
I'm going to go with what Martin says. I want a sci-fi. Sorry, I have to say Star Wars. I want a Star Wars zombie film because there were rumors they were going to do the Zombie Troopers, and you saw them actually a little bit in what's her name? Yeah. I want a film with zombies and how the Empire would deal with it, and Zombie Troopers and stuff like that. So I want a real dark horror sci-fi film, Star Wars film, a more adult one like the way Andor was going, but in the movies into horror, and see what they do.
Tony Gilroy said in an interview that they were actually going to make a horror episode with K2SO. Was going to be, that's how they managed to reprogram him to be with Andor. Is there was this dark corridor sort of type episode where they were being chased by K2SO, and they finally managed to, get him at the end and turn him unprogram him and turn him to the. But I thought how good that, because that little scene we saw of him in the corridor in Andor, with that on steroids, that would have been amazing.
That's one thing I will say about that, because we've only saw him in like Rogue One, and he's like a friendly droid. He's like a C-3PO, isn't he? He's like, there's a funny element. He says funny lines. But when it goes to Andor and you realise that these things actually did work for the Imperials and how nasty they actually are, and when they go into that war and just start lobbing people everywhere and stuff, I was like, these are nutcases. So he did actually do that quite well, didn't it? Yeah, to turn them around like that character.
I would like Omen, Amityville, Rosemary's Baby style devil possession movie.
Those movies scared the living shite out of me. I really don't like watching supernatural. Do you know that? So Guildford Cathedral is where they shot the first Omen, and I still find it really difficult to go up there sometimes because I can remember the film and I just look at it and think, oh no, stop that.
I don't know if this counts. I guess it will. I would love to do a horror cartoon. Characters we know. So we were actually that long ago. I'd love to do, say, for example, a Sectors cartoon, but at 18, and they kill. They're at war fighting, whatever, and they kill each other. A bit like Fly, how bugs would naturally kill each other in their actual. Do you know what I mean? Like a horror cartoon with Sectors or with Supernaturals, but an adult one. No,
that's cool. That's I agree with that. Definitely
something like that. I think it'd be really.
You could do a reboot of Seven with Scooby and the Mystery Gang. That'd be awesome. I'd definitely watch that.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, when they break people's arms, they can X-ray them in back of van.
Yes, I agree.
Well, the last question I've got to ask you all from me before we go on to your questions for the rest. My last question is actually off my mum. This is an Anne-Marie question.
Oh, come on,
Anne-Marie is asked, what do you think is the greatest movie villain quote of all time? Now, to put it in perspective, she's put Mirror, Mirror on the wall, anything by Nicholson's Joker, and Come Here, My Pretty by the Wicked Witch. So,
Yeah,
what would you say is the greatest movie quote?
I'll
From
go
a
first,
villain.
purely because I don't want anyone else to steal it in case they do. My favourite villain movie quote would probably be "Wait until they get a load of me."
Oh yeah,
Oh,
I just think it's the way he says it, and then sort of does this. Ooh, sort of just makes silly noises after it and starts laughing. And
He was fantastic, wasn't he?
yeah, brilliant.
For me, my favourite again is a Nicholson, and it's you can't make an omelette without breaking some eggs, and I love that saying. He said, I love it.
Yeah,
I'm going to go with I ate his liver with some fava beans and an onion.
Oh yeah, Alexi, yeah. Great one, yeah.
I think mine is "So Be It, Jedi." I love the way he does it. The way he does it, just like I've had enough of this. Time to die. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm going to go. If you will not turn, then perhaps she will.
Yeah.
Good one.
Sister, you have a twin sister.
Yeah.
Mine will be "I am your father." So
Yeah.
So that was shocked. That you didn't expect it. I was going, "What?"
Vader has a book on his own, doesn't he? He has his own book on quotes, Vader, doesn't he?
He probably has got a book in the library saying quotes from Vader.
How
If
to
not, there should be
intimidate
one.
people.
Yeah.
Mr. Beezy's put the lotion in the basket. The greatest villain quote is "I'm Ray." Ray's. I'll be back. T8 Terminator.
Yeah.
The best Hannibal Lecter quote is "I have a go to Clarice. I'm having an old friend for dinner." That's a very nice suit, Mr. Takagi, but shame to ruin it.
Yeah. Good die quote. Yeah.
$1 million.
Oh, that's a nice one, Wilma. Yeah, greatest villain quote is "Apology accepted." Yeah.
What's yours, Martin? What's your favourite quote for villains?
Well, it's
That's my second one.
It's a quote from, in my opinion, the greatest villain in the history of TV and movie, and it is oh my god, a minute. I've got to get it right. You, like your father, are now mine.
Yeah,
Like your father. I love that. It's brilliant. I love the way you all mentioning Return of the Jedi as well. Thank you very much. It just puts the list higher on it. Do you know what I mean?
I love Return of the Jedi, and also there's a villain that's not mentioned much in the Return of the Jedi. It's the Imperial commander who decided to take his stormtroopers covered in white armor to a planet full of green jungle.
Ego. Hey, we did it in America with red coats. We did the same thing. Do you know what I mean? In the revolution.
But that was meant to be the color of blood and fear, wasn't it?
At least the rebels put a bit of camo on, don't they?
Yeah. No, Mr. Bob.
Lex Luthor, Superman. See, there were so many villains that had so many top quotes in there.
The Joker could write his own book, because I mean that would be my favourite quote, but very quickly followed by "Never rub another man's rhubarb." If you can get that, just brilliant. Yeah.
It's amazing. Look at that. I hate you, barbecue Anakin. Barbecue Anakin. I thought
your overconfidence is your weakness. Your faith in your friends is yours.
Brilliant. Exactly. I thought Martyn was going to go with, "Have you heard the tragedy of Dark?"
He has so many lines.
Faith deserving, Get in my belly, Weeb. The boy who lived, come to die.
Oh yeah.
The villains are the best roles, So you think darkness is your ally? What's that one?
Good one. That's Batman.
Bane.
That's
Batman,
Bane. Yeah, that's Bane. Yeah.
I'm going to go with one which is a bit left field, actually. Something we haven't mentioned. Ash from Alien. And it's the scene where they resurrect his head, and I can't exactly remember it word for word, but it's like, "I won't lie to you about your chances, but you do have my sympathy." And he just smiles.
Lines like that,
I couldn't touch
like
milk
that.
for months after that scene. I couldn't drink milk. I couldn't go near milk. I just couldn't go near it at all. Every time I saw milk, it just reminded me of that old kid.
Stu, did you have one, Stu? Did you have a line, Stu?
I did. Thanks for listening.
Sorry, mate. What was it?
If you will not turn to the dark side, then perhaps you will. Yeah.
Great line. Great line. I can't remember the quote, but that moment when Scar convincing Simba he killed his dad in the canyon. Ash is a goddamn robot. Can I ask you a question? So, who would you say, if you had to pick one villain, who would you say it would be? I'll give you an example. Mine is Francis Buxton. That fucker stole Pee-wee's bike. And Pee-wee had no right.
Who the hell's that?
Well, the thing is, Pee-wee actually goes to his house, right? And he swears blind in front of his dad, in front of Oddjob from Goldfinger, who plays the butler in Pee-wee's Big Adventure. And he's like, no, I don't know what it is, don't know what you did. And then he starts to regret it, and he pays that gangster, and he says, I'll just keep the money just as long. And he never gets his bike back. Pee-wee has to get it himself. So to me, that's an utter bastard to do that to Pee-wee.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, Joker would be my ultimate villain. However, if in the spirit of picking somebody different, I absolutely love Ivan Drago.
Oh,
He's just ice cold, barely any lines, just utter, yeah.
Monster, isn't it?
Yeah, the
monster. Yeah. I agree, DTM. Yeah, good call.
I have to head off, I'm afraid, everyone.
Yeah.
You got to go.
I have to go. So,
hey, you stayed longer than you thought, so thank you, mate.
Yeah.
Thanks for coming in. The link for Don't Donny's and for everybody's channel, by the way, is in the description. So if you're not subscribed to any of these blokes, it's down there in the link. So cheers, Donut. Thanks for coming on, Mark.
no worries. Thanks for the stream, everyone.
Thanks, Mark.
And
See you,
we'll
man.
see you again. Bye.
Was he thingy first before he was Ivan Drago, or was he He-Man before? Which one did he play first?
Ivan
Drago
first.
first.
Yeah.
Drago was his first,
He
and
got,
then
he got
He-Man.
He-Man because of Drago. That's how he
He-Man
got
was
it.
87, wasn't it?
Yeah, exactly right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you look at him now, he still looks great, doesn't he, Dolph Lundgren?
Yeah.
He still looks similar.
I'm just fingers crossed he plays King Randor in the new He-Man movie. If he's King Randor,
he's got to make an appearance, hasn't he?
Oh,
He's got to make an
if he was
appearance.
He-Man's dad in this one, I'd be
That'd be
major.
good, yeah. He was a proper shit in Universal Soldier as well, wasn't he, after Van Damme?
Oh,
He didn't mess with him in that.
He's brilliant in Universal Soldier, yeah. Love him in that.
But again, before we go, is there any questions like anybody else has got or anything? Anything on your mind? Any villain you wanted to mention?
Yeah, I was just going to ask another one if I can. I was going to say, do you prefer horror that is true to life, like you say, like Jaws or Arachnophobia, anything like that? Or is it something like the unknown, like Supernatural? What scares you the most?
For me, Stu, I'll answer that. Anything supernatural or anything, like I said, a slasher film or with a lead villain characters never frighten me, absolutely never. The only films I get eerie by tend sort of things like the Blair Witch Project. I absolutely love that film, and it's one of them films where nothing happens in it. You don't see anything, there's nothing, but it plays on your mind. You come away from that, you're like, I want to go to the loop, but I don't want to go upstairs. Do you know what I mean? I like them sort of like films for that sort of thing. So I'd say things like that. Yeah,
I think when you have the sort of the slasher horror film, that's more about the jump scare for me. But then when you have something more real life, psychological, that's something difficult to watch the whole way through. I think that's the difference, because a lot of things I watch and it'll make me jump, and I jump worse. You know, I'm jumping.
Yeah,
into the
I'm a
next room
nervous.
sometimes.
I'm a nervous watcher.
Yeah. Steph's like, where'd you go?
Yeah,
Steph's like, if Steph's watching it like that, it needs every cushion. Yeah.
I jump scare. I jump if a car backfires going down the street, and I jump. Anything. But my worst one would be because I have a genuine fear of spiders. Anyway, in real life, I have a genuine fear of spiders. There's something about them that just scares the crap out of me. So, like Arachnophobia, when I watched that as a kid, I cannot.
I didn't even watch that all the way through. I did not even watch all the way through. I walked out. I was like, "Sit this with them." So
it's too much. It's too much for me because it's real. I mean, it's not real, but in my head, it's a genuine fear.
So you could not do that I'm a celebrity thing where you stick your head in that bubble and all them spiders come in.
Absolutely not. I could eat anything. I feel I could go on something like that and eat anything. But
see, I couldn't do that bit.
If I had to put my head in a bowl with spiders in it, or my hand in someone, I'd be gone. I'd be done. I'd be out.
To me, it's animals talking. I'd shit myself. Everyone who's known Shabby for 5.5 years knows I've got a phobia with it. Anything with animals talking, I'm gone. That's it. You know, Good night, Ned. Yeah, exactly. Oh, God.
Yeah, can I just say, Des has just put in the comments there. I thought Luke was scared of custard creams. I'd just like to clarify, Des. I'd just like to clarify. I'm not scared of them. I despise them. I think they're just arrogant, absolute, just up their own backside. I'm not scared of them. They're just too full of themselves.
Jonathan Redmond said, I'd say the greatest villains are toy collectors who keep their stuff boxed. Any movie that deals with demonic possession gets to me. Blair Witch is my favourite horror. Horror, I give you horror. Watch an episode of Doctor Who. Horror, I give you horrors. What's that, DTM?
It's all the backlash about the series. It's not.
Dave, can I ask you a question? What did you think about the reveal? Obviously, we've all seen it this week, so we all know who it is. What did you think of that?
I think it could, if they do it right, if they do it again, it could work. I think I know what he's got up his sleeve, and if he can pull it off.
Fake. I'm not scared of fake spiders, though, Dave. BTR, that's the difference. Fake spiders, though. If I know the fake, I'm not. That don't back. Where I know you're still scared by them.
Would you agree with that, DTM? Keep on collecting. It says right on, George. Doctor Who had the scariest villains for him growing up.
I agree with that.
When I was growing up, they all looked a bit fake and ropey, so they didn't look scary. I think they looked
Davos shit me up all day. When they revealed Davos, I was like, "Oh my god!" Like, first of all, because they're pulling the head off that Dalek. I didn't like that.
Hey Luke, what would you do if you saw that Black Widow spider that was in my garden a couple of weeks back? Took a picture and sent it to the lads.
I want to see it.
Big Black Widow spider in my garden.
So Luke, say if you're in your bed at night, right, and you saw a spider just run across the top of your room, would you have to get out of bed and like get it and stuff? Could you go to sleep with it in there and stuff?
I'd go sleep on sofa.
Would you?
Yeah, absolutely, 100%. If I knew it was in my room somewhere and I lost it or whatever, I'd go sleep on sofa.
Well, that's why I have a cat.
No. The rumor has it there's a new horror movie coming out about spiders being mutated into giant monsters after eating a pack of radioactive custard creams. 100%. Davros and the Daleks were a proper hide behind the sofa moment for me. Davros.
They were, Chris.
I think it was the voice of those Daleks as well, the way they talked. It was a bit like,
I got a question for you. Which actor or actress has been the best at sort of like playing a villain? For me, it's Alan Rickman. I mean, because he's played some really good villains, sort of like down to sort of Sheriff of Nottingham, and even Snape, who was kind of pitched as a villain, but then actually in one of those twists actually wasn't the villain at all. So, which I quite like.
Good shout.
You forget how talented Alan Rickman was, don't you?
I
always liked him in Galaxy Quest. I thought it was brilliant.
Yeah, I mean,
so good.
Yeah, Alan Rickman is a very good one. But again, I'm repeating myself now. But Jack Nicholson, I think the faces he pulls. You know, there's the Joker in The Shining, even in things like The Witches of Eastwick. He just has this look about him that if you met him in the street, you go, "You could be evil." You just feel he's got that. So Jack Nicholson.
Called Jack Palance. He was pretty much
He was in Batman, wasn't he? Because he was Iris Grissom, wasn't he?
Yeah. Did you put Tim Curry there? Because I was going to say Tim Curry because legend, and you think of him as the bad guy in Home Alone. There's the back on and said Home Alone 2. I love that film. Tim Curry.
Kevin Spacey. I'd put Spacey up there too. He plays some. You know what I mean?
I was talking to Rachel this morning actually about this stream, and she threw a good one out because I was saying, give us some of your favorite villains, and actors, and she said a great one. She said she loves John Malkovich as Cyrus the Virus in Conan. Brilliant. It's a great
line in that.
Yeah. Brilliant.
Well, I mean, not to repeat myself as well, I would put that Denise Gough who plays Deidre up there with villains now. I think her portrayal of it was just superb. She was brilliant in the first season, stole it in the second season. You know what I mean? She really was. So I'd say she was brilliant.
I'm going back to Hannibal again, and Anthony Hopkins. Everyone knows it. There's another guy in it, Ted Levine, who played Buffalo Bill.
Absolutely. Yeah,
him as the main villain.
Yeah, he's the guy who plays the captain in Monk, isn't he? He's a great actor.
Yeah.
George says Dr. Evil is my role model. Oh, Palps has got one. Ben Kingsley in Sexy Beast.
Yeah.
He's frightening in that. Yeah, he's very intimidating, isn't he?
Yes,
So,
yes.
yeah.
He's crazy in that film.
I never
isn't he?
knew Candy had such a potty mouth. Yeah.
I've got to go Heath Ledger's Joker. I know he's
No, I agree.
Because
Brilliant.
I thought Jack Nicholson was like going to be really tough to sort of like live up to. I mean, his performance was absolutely incredible. But then for Heath Ledger to come along and do what he did, which was equally as good, and just his mannerisms and the way he delivered his lines, I just thought he was absolutely superb.
Yeah, he was
really
brilliant.
cool. Especially
Brilliant.
that first intro when he walks in with that gang of people sitting around the table and stuff like that. It's just
I
so
love
calm,
that scene.
like,
The magic
Yeah.
He's got the trigger
Magic
on his
is
foot
brilliant,
under his
isn't
coat.
Yeah.
And then
Well, they've got the old
makes that pencil disappear and that guy's
They've
there.
got, the
Yeah,
old, they've got the old 66 masks gone as well that was in the 66 TV show. They're the masks that they all had on in that bank heist at the start.
Yeah,
So,
he does a great job.
Yeah.
yeah.
Do you think
Jonathan-
another villain will ever like win the Oscars again, like the Joker can? Like the Joker now as a villain has won 2 Oscars. Do you think any other villain can sort of rival that, especially when it comes to winning awards? Or do you think the Joker is the utmost
Possibly not.
method acting?
no, I don't think there will be.
I don't, Stu.
I don't think there will be.
It's funny, isn't it? Because the Joker, you think, if you don't know anything about the Joker, you just think he's this clown character. But actually, you can play him so many different ways, which has been proven by so many actors.
Yeah.
And to be fair, there aren't many that even not the not so good ones are actually pretty good. So
I agree, yeah.
yeah, I think
Yeah.
I
Well, I
don't
think
think anyone beats.
there's this idea that if you play the Joker, as an actor, you can get lost in the character, isn't there? I know I've listened to interviews with Jack Nicholson before and Heath Ledger, obviously, and there's this idea that if you play the Joker, you can potentially get kind of lost in playing him, and I suspect that's probably quite true. Because I think Heath Ledger sort of did it sort of quite method acting, didn't he? He didn't really come out of character apparently for a lot of it. So
No, behind the scenes with it too. I do
Exactly.
agree with this,
Yeah,
what
we do know
Jonathan's
it.
saying. That kid who played Joffrey in Game of Thrones, you hated him. And
Yeah.
that one makes how well
Yeah.
he played that, because every one of us was like, when he was poisoned, and so we were all like, yeah, get him. Do you know what I mean? He was
Spoilers
horrible.
galore on this show, isn't there? Sorry to anyone who's not seen anything. Don't come on here.
Wilma says Christoph Waltz in Inglourious Basterds was magnet. He just has a perfect villain face, doesn't he? He really does. Gilster says, would you consider beauty justice? A
Yeah.
villain is smoking a bandit. You'll always
would,
be
I
that
would.
little dick turd. I love beauty.
My favourite line he says is when he goes, Junior,
What?
when I get home, I'm going to punch your mama right in the face.
Christopher Lee is Dracula, yeah.
Yeah,
I agree with that.
Yeah.
That's the thing you forget sometimes when you're watching. Now you know why actors are so talented, is because you'll get a character that will come along and you hate them so much. That's how good they're playing it. You know what I mean? You're meant to have that
Yeah,
moment.
I agree there, Mark. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like when you hear soap stars getting old ladies at them in supermarkets and stuff because they're playing the character that well and they really believe it's the them, don't they?
Yeah. So you got Beck being train spotting. Yeah, I agree with
Yeah,
that.
that one's a great shout. That Robert De Niro.
Yeah, great film.
Brilliant,
Good
brilliant.
film.
When he bites on the cheek, it's horrible, isn't it? It's just horrible. But if you ever
Oh,
want to
we're
see
not
out where
mentioning
where a couple of them are filmed, I live about 10 minutes away from the Cape Fear River. So if anyone wants
wow.
to come over and have a look.
They're
next
making
one.
a TV show of that at the moment.
Yeah, they are.
Yeah. Is it Amy Adams?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I won't be watching it. Oh.
Lee Van Cleef, I forgot all about Lee Van Cleef. Good bag of the ugly, and he was superb. Yeah, I agree with
But
that.
again, I suppose when it comes to movie
Yeah.
villains, we'll come off here and we'll all go, we didn't mention that one. We didn't mention that one.
Yeah,
We
we
did,
will.
because there's
Yeah, we will.
thousands and thousands. You could do 20 streams on this, couldn't you, really?
Yeah.
BTR asks, why hasn't Dave mentioned Nasty Nick yet from EastEnders?
I'm going to do that, Dave. Yeah.
Oh,
Dick Dastardly, yeah.
Even the
Oh, God,
name
yeah.
in it. Oh, brilliant. Yeah, Jason
Oh,
Isaacs. Yeah, he
oh,
has.
yeah.
He was also in
he
the Harry
plays some
Potter
great
franchise.
villains.
Yeah, he does.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I wonder if the new Harry Potter's going to take off just as much as the originals did, because really it has been quite a while since them films come out, but there were such box office successes that for me, I always find it's a bit quick to replace them. But is it today's world? And do you know, I think if they're going to make each proper book, because I like Claire, she's a bit younger than me, and like she read all the Harry Potters and stuff like that. And when we went to see all the films and stuff, Claire's like, yeah, but there's so much missing. There's so much missing. So I think if they're going to do a series, and they're going to do a series of each book each season, I think it's going to do well.
I've read all the books, and there's so much missing from the films. And I'm actually looking for, as long as the HBO don't fall into the trap that a lot of companies are doing now, where they make it too politically correct, is probably the best way to put it. I think if they stick to the story that works very well in the books and was very successful, then I think it's got, you know, and it's HBO at the end of the day, and I can't really think of anything HBO's ever made that isn't good. So so I think, you know, it could be. It's got the potential. That's all I can say, really.
And J.K. Rowling, really, she doesn't fall for all that woke silliness and all that silly crap, does she?
She's got nothing to do with
see
it.
him upsetting her. Yeah, but still, they're not going to upset her legacy, are they? And start putting all that in, really, over the years she's had the trouble of it all. So yeah, if he sticks with mine, it should be great, shouldn't it? Really.
Yeah. You know, I've only ever seen one Harry Potter film.
Oh, I love them. I think they're great films.
We watch them at Christmas every year.
That's what we do, Martyn. We do the same thing. Watch them at Christmas. Yeah, exactly right. Jonathan Redmond.
I think as the years have gone on, when I look at like people like the 30-somethings, they like, it's their Star Wars. You can see it. Do you know what I mean? The 30-somethings, they absolutely love Harry Potter, don't they? And you see so many Potter tattoos on people, don't you, around that age? And
What more now?
Jonathan Redmond says, I've read all the Potter books and I still maintain that Voldemort is one of the shittest villains in it.
It's just the man who doesn't like E.T., Jonathan Redmond.
I might have been that, John.
Sorry, Montana, yeah, good stuff.
But I suppose like the list goes on and on, so we might as well end it there, really, because we've done 2 hours, and you know, we could go through every one of them. It could be another, like I said, loads of streams. But
can I just say,
if we decide to do another one, part 2, would you come back and do another part 2 if we decide to do one in the future?
100%.
Can I just say that you've done a good job hosting tonight, You've done a good job, pal. It's been interesting. I've enjoyed this a lot.
I just like talking good stuff. When you talk good stuff, it's easy.
Vintage Choice says, mustn't forget Paul Robinson from Neighbours, man and size best mate. Just for the record, when people watch this in 30 years.
I will say, Dave, once me and Mark had a night out with him, Stephen Dennis.
Yeah,
and all I'll say to you, it was the craziest night out.
He's a right villain.
Crazy.
He's a right villain. He ran last into the ground, that guy.
Yeah. He's crazy.
Burnt it for insurance. Guy's a proper villain. Yeah, maybe VTR's on to something. He's a proper villain. But he's great on a night out. I'll definitely say that.
Yeah. It all started off. Stephen Dennis asking Mark if he's got any drugs. That's how the night started. He's got any drugs. Mark went, what?
You've always got that face, Abby. You got that face.
Oh, crazy.
Thanks for that side.
It's all right.
Jesus. I've got a bunch of villains on the panel. Great show. So many films and franchises. Yeah, we've mentioned quite a bit. We've covered loads of stuff. Yeah. So awesome film, guys. Great. I mean, stream guys. See you all for CSR. Yeah. Has anyone got anything coming up? I've got coming up CSR on Friday. Then I've got top 5 with Stu and Martyn. Stu and Martyn on top 5 on Monday.
Yeah.
And then on Wednesday, Keith Knight's going to show his Playmobil and his customs and what he's doing in that shed. So that'll be really good.
Well, aren't we on with PGM on Friday?
Oh, yeah.
PGM Fridays,
that. Well, PGM after CSR, we are. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Yeah, thank you.
You see, now there's a difference between me and you, Stu. I wouldn't have said that. Never turned up on Friday like that. Honestly, they're terrible, aren't they?
Anyone else? You've got your pub quiz coming up. Who's on the pub quiz on Sunday?
There's not this Sunday. No.
Right.
Me and Georgie, we're out for the day in London with Martyn and Steph, so we're gonna have a day off.
We're going to London.
She's got a big surprise for us, and we don't know what it is.
I've got a big. Well, I wouldn't say it's a big surprise. It's something nice. I'm sure they'll like it. If not, tough. But we're still going. But
Are you doing anything in London? Are you just going shopping?
Yeah. Well, we are. They don't know what we're doing, but I know what we're doing. So I've organised it.
So you don't know what you're doing, Martyn. He does, and he's got a big surprise for you that's tough.
It goes wrong in a big box.
And there's going to be a ball. He told me there's going to be a ball and some car keys.
The usual Sunday then.
Oh, brilliant, brilliant. Get to 50, your memory starts going. Yeah, great stream, everyone. Hope everyone having a great week. We are done. So remember, everyone's links and channels are in the description at the bottom. Thank you all so much for coming. Simon, you did a good job, man. I appreciate you doing this.
Yeah, thanks for coming on, guys. Cheers.
All right.
Pleasure. Thanks, everybody.
All right, we'll see you all soon. See you later.
See you later.